Have you ever felt it, a quiet, persistent hum beneath the noise of your daily life? A sense that you are standing on the precipice of something vast and undiscovered. It's a feeling not of discontent, but of unfulfilled potential. A deep, cellular knowledge that the life you are currently living is only a fraction of what is possible for you. This is not just imagination, it is a message, a whisper from the universe itself. A reminder of a grander design you are meant to be a part of. We spend our days chasing a very specific idea of wealth, an idea given to us by a world that often measures success in spreadsheets and bank statements. We hustle, we grind, we climb ladders, all in the pursuit of more, believing that external accumulation will finally grant us that elusive feeling of peace and fulfillment. Yet, for so many, reaching the top of that ladder only reveals an empty view, a realization that the wealth we have gathered cannot quiet the persistent hum inside. The problem has never been a lack of resources in the world. It has been our definition of wealth itself. We have been taught to build our empires on external ground, leaving the infinite territory within us unexplored and untended. This is where the greatest shift occurs, the turning point where the whispers of the universe become clear guidance. The ultimate strategy for achieving a life of profound, unshakable wealth has nothing to do with market trends or financial forecasts. It is the art and science of investing in yourself. This is the understanding that you, in your entirety, are the single greatest asset you will ever possess. The key to unlocking this boundless inner resource, to finally decoding the messages the universe has been sending you, often lies within the distilled wisdom of those who have walked this path before. It is found in the powerful narratives and transformative principles waiting for you in the world of audiobooks, dedicated to the laws of attraction and profound self-development. These are not merely books, they are energetic tools, designed to be absorbed into your life, to retune your frequency while you drive, while you work, while you walk through the world. They are the keys to transforming your inner state, so that you cease to be a chaser of wealth, and become a living magnet for it, attracting not just financial abundance, but a richness of health, of purpose, of connection, and of spirit that defines what it truly means to be wealthy. The journey begins now, not by looking out, but by turning in. To begin this journey, we must first shatter the very foundation upon which our old ideas of wealth were built, for we have been handed a flawed blueprint, a map that leads to a barren treasure chest. We have been taught to see wealth as a number, a figure on a screen, a collection of objects that can be owned and displayed. And so we chase it, we work for it, we sacrifice for it, often trading our most precious, non-renewable resources, like time and peace, for its acquisition. We treat wealth as an external entity, something to be captured and caged. But the universe operates on a much deeper, more elegant principle, the principle of reflection. Your outer world is, and always will be, a direct mirror of your inner world. To chase financial abundance while harboring a spirit of poverty within is like trying to see a smiling face in a mirror while you are frowning. It is a physical and energetic impossibility. The first, most crucial investment you must make, therefore, is to fundamentally shift your definition of what it means to be wealthy. True wealth is not a static object. It is a living, breathing ecosystem. It is the vibrant energy you feel in your body when you wake up in the morning, a testament to your health. It is the depth and authenticity of your relationships, the feeling of being truly seen and understood by another soul. It is the quiet, unshakable peace that resides in your core, even when the world outside is in turmoil, a peace that cannot be bought at any price. And most importantly, it is the profound sense of purpose that animates your days, the knowledge that your existence is contributing something meaningful to the world. This is the new gold standard. $1 billion in the bank is a hollow victory if you are too sick to enjoy it, too isolated to share it, and too anxious to feel secure in it. The universe doesn't deal in currencies of paper and metal as its primary language. It deals in the currency of vibration, of feeling, of being. When you start to value inner peace as much as a stock portfolio and vibrant health as much as a real estate holding, the entire game changes. You stop chasing and you start attracting, because you are finally aligning with the frequency of true, holistic abundance. This brings us to the most vital asset you will ever manage. The one piece of property that determines the value of everything else in your life. Your mindset. Your mind is the soil in which the seeds of your future will either flourish or wither. All the best intentions, goals, and dreams in the world will fail to take root in soil that is rocky, toxic, and infertile. In her groundbreaking work, Stanford University psychologist Carol Dweck introduced a powerful framework for understanding this inner soil through her book, Mindset. She identifies two fundamental beliefs that shape our lives: the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. A person with a fixed mindset believes that their qualities, their intelligence, their talents are carved in stone. They have a certain amount, and that's it. This single belief creates a cascade of consequences. They feel an urgent need to prove themselves over and over, to show that their fixed amount of talent is sufficient. A challenge is not an opportunity. It is a threat, a potential exposure of their inadequacy. The effort is seen as a bad thing, because if you were truly talented or smart, you wouldn't need it. Criticism is taken as a personal attack, and the success of others becomes a source of profound envy and intimidation, because it casts a shadow on their own limited portion. The fixed mindset is a cage of one's own making, a life spent defending a small patch of territory instead of exploring the vast continent of possibility that lies just beyond its bars. Contrast this with the growth mindset. A person with a growth mindset believes that their basic abilities can be developed and cultivated through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are just the starting point. This view creates a love of learning and a resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. For them, a challenge is not a threat, but a thrilling opportunity to stretch, to grow, to become more than they were before. They understand that effort is not a sign of weakness, but the very path to mastery. Criticism is not an insult. It is priceless data, information that can be used to improve and refine. And the success of others is not a threat, but a source of inspiration and education. They see what is possible and ask, how can I learn from that? The growth mindset is the key that unlocks the cage, transforming life from a process of judgment into a journey of discovery. This is not just a feel-good philosophy. It is rooted in the hard science of our own biology. For centuries, we believed the adult brain was a fixed, unchanging machine. But modern neuroscience has proven this to be false with the discovery of neuroplasticity. Your brain is not static hardware. It is dynamic software, constantly being rewired by your thoughts, actions, and experiences. Every time you think a thought or perform an action, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with it. Think of your brain as a dense forest. Your habitual thoughts are like well-worn paths through this forest. A limiting belief like, I'm not good with money, is a deep, wide, easy path that your thoughts travel down automatically. Trying to think a new thought, like I am a capable and abundant financial creator, is like trying to forge a new path through the thick undergrowth. At first, it's difficult. It requires conscious effort and repetition. But every time you intentionally walk that new path, you clear a little more brush. You stomp down a few more weeds. With persistence, that new trail becomes wider, clearer, and easier to travel, while the old, disempowering path begins to grow over from disuse. Neuroplasticity is the biological proof that you are not a victim of your current mental programming. You are the programmer. You have the innate power to weaken old connections and build new ones, to literally change your mind and therefore change your life. So let us embrace the powerful metaphor of the gardener. Your mind is your sacred garden. For years, perhaps, you have been unaware of the rocks of a fixed mindset, the toxic weeds of limiting beliefs, the dry, unattended soil of neglect. And you have wondered why the beautiful seeds of your desires for health, for love, for abundance fail to sprout. The wise gardener does not blame the seeds. The wise gardener understands that the preparation of the soil is the most critical work. Adopting a growth mindset is the act of tilling the land, breaking up the hard, compacted earth of old beliefs. Practicing mindfulness and self-awareness is the act of pulling the weeds of negative thought patterns one by one. Consuming inspiring and educational content is the act of adding rich, nourishing compost to your garden. This is the foundational work. This is the truest form of self-investment. It is the deep, often invisible labor that precedes any magnificent harvest. It is the profound understanding that before you can expect anything to grow from your life, you must first cultivate a rich and fertile ground within. Now that we understand that our mindset is the soil, that we have the power to enrich it, to make it fertile and ready, a new question naturally arises. We have prepared the garden, but what seeds shall we plant? To answer this, we must look beyond our own minds and begin to understand the invisible, universal laws that govern growth, the very forces that will interact with our intentions. This leads us directly to the most famous and perhaps most misunderstood of these principles, the law of attraction. Having prepared the fertile soil of a growth mindset, we now arrive at the planting of the seed. And to do so, we must understand the invisible laws of nature that govern its growth. We must speak of the most potent and often mystified of these laws, a force as real and as constant as gravity, yet one that operates in the unseen realm of energy and consciousness. This is the law of attraction. It is not a new age trend or a magic trick for wish fulfillment. It is a fundamental principle of universal physics that states, simply, like attracts like. Everything in the universe, from the chair you are sitting on to the thoughts swirling in your mind, is composed of energy, and all energy vibrates at a particular frequency. You, as a conscious being, are a broadcasting tower of energy, sending out a complex vibrational signal into the cosmos with every thought you think and every emotion you feel. The law of attraction, in its perfect and impersonal consistency, simply matches that signal, bringing back to you experiences, people, and circumstances that vibrate at the exact same frequency you are emitting. Think of it like this. If you strike a tuning fork of a particular note, say, middle C, any other tuning forks of that same note in the vicinity will begin to vibrate in sympathy, humming with the same energy, while forks of a different note remain silent. You are that first tuning fork. Your dominant emotional state, your core beliefs, your habitual thoughts, they all combine to create your unique note. If your note is one of frustration, struggle, and lack, the universe has no choice but to bring you more circumstances that match that frustrating vibration. If your note is one of joy, gratitude, and abundance, the universe must, by law, deliver experiences that harmonize with that beautiful sound. This is why positive thinking alone can sometimes feel hollow and ineffective. You can repeat the words "I am wealthy" 1,000 times, but if the underlying feeling, the deep, vibrational note you are humming is one of desperation and disbelief, it is the feeling that the universe will respond to. Your thoughts may form the request, but your emotions are the powerful magnetic charge that draws the experience to you. A thought without feeling is a letter with no address. It has no power to reach its destination. Your emotional state is the postage stamp, paid in the currency of belief. The audiobook and film The Secret did a magnificent job of introducing this profound concept to millions, cracking open a door in the collective consciousness that had been sealed for centuries. It taught a world obsessed with forceful effort that the power of the mind was a legitimate creative force. However, this popularization also led to a significant misunderstanding, a simplification that caused many to try it, fail, and dismiss it as fantasy. The misunderstanding is this: that the law of attraction is a cosmic vending machine where you simply insert a thought and your desired item drops out. This leads to a passive state of wishful thinking, of people sitting on their couches visualizing a check in the mail, wondering why it never arrives. This is a crucial misinterpretation of the co-creative process. The universe does not give you what you want, because the very act of wanting is a powerful vibrational statement of not having. To want something is to affirm its absence from your life, sending out the frequency of lack. Instead, the universe gives you a perfect reflection of who you are. It gives you a reflection of your state of being. Here we find the true key, the master secret to making this law work for you instead of against you. You must become the person you wish to be before the evidence appears in your reality. You must embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, you must stop focusing on your debt and instead cultivate the feeling of security, freedom, and generosity. How would a truly wealthy person walk, talk, think, and act? They wouldn't be consumed with worry. They would be looking for opportunities to use their resources for joy and growth. If you desire love, you must stop lamenting your loneliness and instead become a beacon of love yourself, radiating kindness, self-respect, and compassion. You become the person who is already in a loving relationship, and in doing so, you create the energetic space for that person to walk in. Imagine the universe as an infinite radio tower, broadcasting every possible reality on a different frequency, all at the same time. The frequency for struggle and poverty is broadcasting right now. So is the frequency for perfect health, for soulmate love, for creative genius, for financial abundance. They all exist as waves of potential in the ether. Your mind, and specifically your vibrational state of being, is the tuner on your personal radio. You cannot hear the beautiful symphony playing on frequency 104.5 FM if your dial is stubbornly tuned to the static and panicked news reports on 88.1 AM. It is not your job to beg the radio tower to change its programming for you. The symphony is already playing. It has always been playing. Your job is simply and profoundly to change your own frequency. You do this by deliberately choosing thoughts and, more importantly, cultivating feelings that match the reality you wish to experience. This is the ultimate act of empowerment. It moves you from a position of begging to a position of deliberate, conscious creation. This process is not entirely passive. It does involve action, but it is a very specific kind of action. It is not the frantic, fear-based hustle of trying to force a door open. It is inspired action. When you successfully tune your frequency to your desire, when you truly begin to feel like the person who has what you want, the universe will begin to conspire on your behalf. You will suddenly get an idea out of the blue. You'll feel a strong urge to call a specific person you haven't spoken to in years. You'll see a book or a workshop that seems to call out your name. This is the universe delivering the next step. Inspired action feels light, effortless, and exciting. It doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like the most natural thing in the world to do. Taking these actions is how you signal to the universe. I heard you. I trust you. I am moving with you. It is the physical step that solidifies your energetic alignment. You are no longer just thinking about the symphony. You have gotten up and started to dance to the music. So we see that the law of attraction is not about wanting, but about being. It's about meticulously curating your inner world, knowing that the outer world will have no choice but to follow suit. You attract who you are, not what you chase. This profound realization shifts everything. The world ceases to be a random, chaotic place and becomes an intelligent, responsive partner in your journey of growth. But now, with this understanding of this powerful universal law, we are faced with a practical question. We know we need to tune our radio, but to what station, precisely? A vague desire for a better life is like spinning the dial and hoping for the best. To truly harness this force, we need an exact coordinate, a clear frequency to tune into. We need an architect's blueprint for the reality we wish to build. This requires us to master the next essential art: the power of a crystal clear intention. Having grasped the fundamental law of universal response, the law of attraction, we understand that we are constantly communicating with the cosmos through our vibration. But a muddled, aimless signal will only ever receive a muddled, aimless response. To simply ask the universe for a better life is like a ship captain radioing the harbor and saying, "I'd like to go somewhere nice." The ship will drift aimlessly, pushed and pulled by the whims of the current and tide, because it has no definite port of call. A master captain does not hope for a destination, they declare it. They have a precise coordinate, a specific destination logged in their navigational charts. With this clarity, they can steer the ship through storms, adjust for winds, and navigate any obstacle, because they know, with unwavering certainty, where they are going. This is the difference between a vague wish and a powerful intention. A wish is a passive hope, an untethered balloon released to the wind. An intention is a focused beam of light, a declaration of a destination that organizes all the energy of the universe around its fulfillment. It is the architect's blueprint for the reality you are about to build. A true intention is not a fleeting thought. It is a detailed, multisensory creation held firmly in the mind. The universe does not respond well to generalities, it thrives on specifics. An intention like "I want to be rich" is weak and ineffective. What does rich even mean? For some it is $1 million, for others $1 billion. For some it is freedom from debt, for others it is the ability to travel the world. To create with power, you must be crystal clear. Your intention should be stated as if it is already a fact. Not "I will have," but "I am." For instance, I am so happy and grateful. Now that I am joyfully earning $200,000 a year from my thriving graphic design business and my 2 rental properties, which affords me the freedom to travel for 3 months of the year. This level of detail does 2 things. First, it removes all ambiguity from your vibrational signal, making it a clear and potent request. Second, it must resonate with your deepest values. A goal to become a high-powered corporate lawyer might sound impressive, but if your soul truly craves creative expression and quiet solitude, you will be sending out a conflicting, self-sabotaging signal. Your intention must feel like coming home. It must align with the core feelings you truly desire, be it freedom, security, creativity, or peace. This clarity is the essential first step in moving from a passive dreamer to a conscious creator. Perhaps no one has ever illustrated this principle more powerfully than Napoleon Hill in his timeless classic, Think and Grow Rich. He tells the story of a man named Edwin C. Barnes, who was possessed by an idea. He did not merely want to work for the great inventor Thomas Edison. He was determined to become his business associate. Notice the specificity. It was not a hope, it was not a wish. Hill describes it as a burning desire, an all-consuming, definite purpose. At the time, Barnes had 2 significant problems. He had no money, and he did not know Mr. Edison. To a lesser mind, these would have been insurmountable obstacles. But Barnes' intention was so clear and powerful that it closed his mind to all thoughts of retreat. He famously burned his bridges behind him, leaving himself no choice but to succeed. He traveled to Edison's laboratory in New Jersey, presenting himself not as a job seeker, but as someone who had come to go into business with the inventor. Edison was struck not by his appearance, for he looked like a common tramp, but by the conviction in his expression. Edison later said, "He stood there before me, looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come for." I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. 1. Edison gave him a menial job at a nominal wage. To an outside observer, it looked like Barnes had failed. He was a low-level employee, not a partner. But Barnes did not see it that way. His clear intention allowed him to see this job for what it was. A priceless opportunity to be in Edison's orbit, a chance to put his foot in the door. He was not looking for an opportunity to climb the traditional ladder. He was waiting for the single, specific opportunity that would align with his grand intention. For years, he did his work, but his mind was never on the menial tasks. His mind was constantly focused on his definite chief aim, becoming the business partner of Thomas Edison. Then, one day, the opportunity appeared. Edison had perfected a new office device, then called the Edison dictating machine. His salesmen were not enthusiastic about it. They didn't believe they could sell it easily. But Barnes saw his chance. He knew he could sell it because his mind was primed for this moment. He presented a plan to Edison and was immediately given the contract. From that partnership, he went on to make a great fortune and prove to the world the truth of his new slogan, made by Edison and installed by Barnes. Barnes did not become Edison's partner because of luck or coincidence. He succeeded because he held a single, clear, unwavering intention, and he backed it with relentless persistence until the universe reshaped itself around his vision. This brings us to the energetic engine of intention, the step that bridges the gap between the blueprint and the physical building. Once your intention is set, written down, and clarified, you must then generate the feeling of it already being real. You must live from the end. This is not about faking it till you make it. It is about feeling it until you see it. This is the core of manifestation. Take time every single day to close your eyes and step into the reality where your intention is fulfilled. What does it feel like to wake up in your dream home? Feel the cool floor on your bare feet, smell the coffee brewing, see the morning light streaming through the windows. What does it feel like to have that perfect, loving partner? Feel their hand in yours. Hear their laughter. Feel the warmth of their presence. What does it feel like to be financially free? Feel the profound peace of not worrying about bills. Feel the exhilarating freedom of booking a trip on a whim. Feel the joy of being able to give generously to those you love. By generating these emotions in your body now, in the present moment, you are calibrating your vibrational frequency. You are tuning your radio dial with precision to the station where your desired reality is already being broadcast. You are becoming a vibrational match to your desire, which is the only way the law of attraction can deliver it to you. Finally, there is a simple, almost magical act that solidifies this entire process. An act that translates the ethereal energy of thought into the physical world. You must write it down. The physical act of moving a pen across paper forges a powerful neurological connection. It signals to your subconscious mind that this is not just a passing fantasy, but a direct command. Furthermore, it engages a part of your brain known as the reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS is the brain's filter. It determines what you notice and what you ignore in the flood of sensory information you receive every second. When you write down your clear intention and focus on it regularly, you are programming this filter. You are telling your brain, this is important. Pay attention to anything related to this. Suddenly, you'll start to notice things you never saw before. You'll overhear a conversation about an opportunity. You'll see an article that holds a key piece of information. You'll meet someone who knows exactly who you need to talk to. These things were likely always there, but your brain, under the command of your clear, written intention, is now highlighting them for you in brilliant color. You are turning your mind into a heat-seeking missile for solutions and opportunities. Your clear intention, then, is the blueprint, the what. It is the North Star that gives your journey direction, focus, and meaning. But a blueprint, no matter how detailed or beautiful, cannot build a house on its own. A blueprint is a static plan. It needs an energy source, a dynamic power to bring the design off the page and into three-dimensional reality. It needs fuel. This fuel is the very language of the universe, the energetic current that brings all things into being. It is the power of your emotions. If your clear intention is the architect's blueprint for your desired reality, then your emotions are the dynamic, living energy that fuels its construction. We have been taught to view our emotions as unpredictable and often inconvenient reactions to the world around us. We see them as consequences, not causes. We think, I am angry because of the traffic, or I am sad because of what they said. We perceive ourselves as being at the mercy of our feelings. But this is a profound misunderstanding of their purpose. Your emotions are not random. They are the most sophisticated, precise, and immediate guidance system you will ever have access to. They are the language of your soul, a direct communication from the larger, non-physical part of you, or the universe itself, telling you in every single moment whether you are aligned with your true path and your deepest desires. They are your built-in compass, and learning to read it is the master skill of conscious creation. Think of it this way. When you are driving a car with a satellite navigation system and you make a wrong turn, the system doesn't scold you. It simply says, recalculating, and gently shows you the new path to get back on track. Your emotions work in exactly the same way. When you feel emotions at the higher end of the scale, joy, passion, enthusiasm, love, appreciation, that is your inner guidance system saying, yes, this, more of this. The thought you are currently thinking, the focus you are currently holding, is in perfect alignment with who you truly are and what you truly want. You are on the right path. These positive feelings are your green lights, signaling that you are moving directly toward your desired destination. Conversely, when you feel emotions at the lower end of the scale, fear, frustration, jealousy, anger, despair, that is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are bad or broken. It is simply the gentle, loving alarm of your guidance system saying, recalculating. The thought you are currently thinking is out of alignment with your true self. The story you are telling yourself right now is leading you away from what you desire. A negative emotion is simply a signal that your point of focus is counterproductive to your own intention. It is a loving tap on the shoulder, an invitation to choose a different thought, a better feeling perspective. The spiritual teachers Esther and Jerry Hicks, in their seminal audiobook Ask and It Is Given, offer a perfect analogy for this. They describe life as a powerful river, a stream of well-being that is always flowing naturally and effortlessly toward the things you desire. When you feel good, it's because you are in a boat, floating downstream with the current. You have dropped the oars, and you are allowing the natural flow of the universe to carry you. It feels easy, light, and joyful because it is. When you feel bad, it's because you have turned your boat around and are trying to paddle upstream against the powerful current. It feels difficult, frustrating, and exhausting because you are fighting the very flow of life itself, powered by resistant thoughts like worry, doubt, and blame. The solution is not to paddle harder against the current. The solution is to simply let go of the oarslet, go of the resistant thought, and allow your boat to be gently turned back around into the natural, downstream flow. To navigate this process, it is helpful to visualize an emotional scale or ladder. At the very top, with the highest vibration and most creative power, are states like joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation. This is your natural state. At the very bottom are the lowest frequencies, like fear, grief, despair, and powerlessness. In between lies the entire spectrum of human emotion: boredom, contentment, hopefulness, frustration, blame, anger. The secret to managing your emotions is not to try and make the impossible leap from despair to joy in a single bound. The pressure of trying to do so will only create more frustration. The art is in simply reaching for the next best feeling thought you can find. If you are feeling despair, you cannot force yourself to feel joy. But perhaps you can find a thought that leads you to anger. Anger, while still a negative emotion, is a significant vibrational step up from despair. Anger has energy, it has focus, whereas despair is powerlessness. From a place of anger, you might be able to find a thought that feels like blame. From blame, you might find frustration. From frustration, you can perhaps reach for hopefulness. And from hopefulness, optimism is just a short step away, and joy is right around the corner. It is a gentle, compassionate process of talking yourself up the emotional ladder, one rung at a time, always reaching for relief, for that slightly better feeling thought. Perhaps the most beautiful metaphor for understanding your emotional nature is that of a cork in water. Imagine that your true self, your soul, your natural state of being, is a cork. By its very nature, a cork floats. It doesn't have to try to float. It doesn't need to learn how to float. Its inherent property is buoyancy. That state of floating effortlessly on the surface of the water represents joy, clarity, and well-being. Now, imagine that a negative thought, a worry, or a limiting belief is your own hand, pushing that cork down underneath the surface of the water. It takes active energy and consistent pressure to hold that cork underwater. It is an unnatural state. This is what it feels like to be in a state of emotional distress. It is an effort against your own nature. The moment you make the decision to let go of the negative thought, the moment you withdraw your focus from the problem and release the pressure, what happens to the cork? You don't have to help it rise. You don't need to engineer its ascent. It bobs back to the surface on its own, instantly returning to its natural state of buoyancy. This reveals a profound truth. Joy is not something you must chase or create. Happiness is not something you need to find. They are your natural, default state. Your only work is to stop doing the thing that is holding you away from it. Your work is to release the resistant thoughts, to let go of the pressure, and to allow yourself to float. Over time, through the consistent practice of choosing better-feeling thoughts and letting go of resistance, you begin to change your emotional set point. Just as a thermostat in a home is set to a default temperature, each of us has an emotional home base that we tend to return to. You know people whose set point is habitually cheerful, and others whose set point is habitually anxious or cynical. This work is the conscious act of recalibrating that thermostat. Each time you deliberately move up the emotional scale, each time you release the cork, you are making it easier and more natural to reside in those higher states of being. You are raising your emotional set point, making joy, peace, and appreciation your new normal. We now have the architect's blueprint, our clear intention, providing the direction. And we have the fuel and the compass, our emotional guidance system, showing us the way and telling us when we are on or off course. We understand that our job is to go with the flow, to release the cork, and to allow ourselves to feel good. But what about the times when it feels like our hand is glued to the cork? What about those persistent, stubborn patterns of thought that seem to hold us underwater, no matter how much we want to let go? These are the deep-seated programs, the invisible walls that we keep crashing into. To truly navigate this river freely and master our journey, we must now turn our attention inward, to face the inner saboteur, and learn the art of dismantling our own limiting beliefs. We have the blueprint of our intention and the emotional compass to guide us. Yet so often on this journey, it feels as though we are driving with the emergency brake engaged. We try to move forward, to feel good, to align with our desires, but an invisible force seems to pull us back into old, familiar patterns of self-sabotage and doubt. This force, this inner saboteur, is the network of limiting beliefs that runs in the deep background of our minds. Think of your conscious mind as the captain of a mighty ship, but your subconscious mind as the crew and the engines below deck. If the crew has been given a set of old, contradictory, and flawed instructions, it doesn't matter what new orders the captain shouts from the bridge, the ship will continue to run its old, programmed course. To truly change direction, we must go below deck and rewrite the code that the crew is operating from. These limiting beliefs are not, in fact, ours. We are not born with them. We are born as clean slates of infinite possibility. These beliefs are pieces of programming we download from the world around us, primarily in our early childhood. As young children, our minds are in a highly receptive, hypnotic theta brainwave state. We are pure sponges, absorbing the worldviews, fears, and beliefs of our parents, our teachers, and our culture without any critical filter. If we grew up hearing phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "You have to work your fingers to the bone to get by," we downloaded a belief system that equates wealth with struggle and scarcity. If a parent, however well-meaning, constantly said, "Be careful, don't take risks," we may have installed a deep program that equates safety with staying small. A single thoughtless comment from a teacher, like, "You're just not very good at math," can be accepted as gospel by a 7-year-old mind and become a core belief that limits their career choices for the next 50 years. These beliefs are not truths. They are simply inherited conclusions that we have never consciously examined. The Toltec wisdom teacher Don Miguel Ruiz, in his profound audiobook, The 4 Agreements, provides a brilliant framework for understanding how we personally forge and reinforce these inner chains. He calls them agreements. We make an agreement, and we use our own power to uphold it. He explains that the most powerful force in this is our word. The first agreement, "Be impeccable with your word," highlights this. We often think this means not gossiping about others, which is true, but its deeper meaning is to stop using the power of your word against yourself. Every time you say, "I'm so stupid, I always mess things up," or "I'll never be able to afford that," you are casting a spell. You are using the divine power of language to create a negative reality, reinforcing the very limitations you claim to despise. Secondly, through the agreement, don't make assumptions. We build entire narratives based on limited information. Someone doesn't text us back, and we assume they are angry with us, reinforcing a belief that we are unlikable. We get passed over for a promotion, and we assume it's because we aren't talented enough, reinforcing a belief that we are unworthy. We turn these fictions into facts, and then use these facts as the evidence that proves our limiting beliefs are true. We become the judge, the jury, and the prisoner in a courtroom of our own making. So how do we identify these invisible saboteurs? The first place to look is at your life itself. Your external reality is a perfect printout of your subconscious programming. Where are you experiencing the most struggle? Is it in your finances, your relationships, your health? That area of recurring difficulty is a giant flashing arrow pointing directly at a core limiting belief. The second method is to listen to your own language. Pay close attention to your absolute statements and your I am declarations. Any sentence that begins with "I'm just not," or "I've always been," is the voice of a program, not the voice of your true self. "I just don't have the discipline," "I've always been overweight," "I'm not the kind of person who can." These are the bars of your cage. When you catch one, ask the powerful question. Says who? Trace it back. Whose voice is that, really? Is it your mother's, your father's? A childhood bully? Realizing that it is a piece of external, second-hand programming is the first step to reclaiming your power from it. Once a belief is identified, you cannot fight it head-on, for what you resist persists. You must lovingly deconstruct it and replace it. The first step is to challenge its authority. Treat the belief like a witness on the stand and question its testimony. If the belief is, "I always fail at business," ask yourself, is it really 100% true that I have always failed? Has there ever been a single instance, no matter how small, where I succeeded at something? Maybe you successfully negotiated a small contract or got positive feedback from a client. Finding even one piece of counter-evidence proves that the belief is not an absolute law. It is merely a strong habit of thought. Next, you must consciously create a new, empowering belief to take its place. This is the true art of affirmations. The new belief must be stated in the present tense as an I am statement. The old belief, "I am not worthy," must be replaced with, "I am whole, complete, and infinitely worthy of all good things." The old belief, "Money is hard to come by," is replaced with, "I am a magnet for financial abundance, and money flows to me easily and frequently." Then, you must actively look for evidence that your new belief is true. You become a detective for your own success. If your new belief is, "I am creative," you celebrate every small creative act, from arranging flowers beautifully to coming up with a clever idea in a meeting. You are gathering a mountain of new data that supports your new, desired programming. Let's imagine a man named Michael who holds the belief, "I'm not a leader." It has kept him in the same mid-level position for years, watching others get promoted. He identifies the belief and traces it back to being the shy younger brother who was always told what to do. First, he challenges it. He remembers a time he organized a successful camping trip for his friends, a time he led a project at a local charity. The belief is not 100% true. He then creates his new belief, "I am a confident and capable leader." He writes it down. He says it to himself in the mirror. Then, he starts gathering new evidence. At work, instead of staying silent in a meeting, he offers one thoughtful suggestion. His boss nods in agreement. That's a piece of evidence. A junior colleague asks for his advice, and he gives it clearly and helpfully. That's another piece of evidence. He volunteers to lead a small, low-stakes part of a project and handles it well. More evidence. Each piece, no matter how small, is a stone being placed on the foundation of his new identity. Over time, the weight of the new evidence becomes so great that it eclipses the old, flimsy program, and "I am a confident and capable leader" becomes his new, natural reality. Finally, it is important to approach this work with compassion, not aggression. Your limiting beliefs, especially those rooted in fear, were often created by a younger version of you as a way to protect yourself. The belief "don't take risks" was trying to save you from the pain of failure. The belief "it's not safe to be seen" was trying to shield you from judgment. Instead of trying to kill these parts of yourself, practice integration. Acknowledge the fear. You can say to it, "Thank you for trying to protect me. I see you, I appreciate your intention." But I am an adult now, and I am choosing to move forward with courage. You don't have to carry this job anymore. This act of inner diplomacy is infinitely more powerful than trying to wage a war against yourself. You are bringing your shadow into the light, not to destroy it, but to heal it. Clearing these deep-rooted weeds of limiting beliefs is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice of mindful gardening. But a garden that has been diligently cleared of weeds is now just empty. Fertile soil. It is exposed and ready to ensure that old weeds do not grow back and new ones do not take root. We must be intentional about what we plant in their place. We cannot leave the garden of our mind to chance. We must consciously and consistently cultivate a landscape of empowering daily practices that will, in time, grow so strong and vibrant that there is simply no room left for the weeds to grow. This brings us to the architecture of our daily lives, the transformative power of habit. Having meticulously cleared the inner garden of our minds from the choking weeds of limiting beliefs, we are now faced with fertile, open ground. But a garden left untended will not remain empty for long. Nature abhors a vacuum, and if we do not intentionally plant what we desire, the old weeds of doubt and the new weeds of distraction will inevitably creep back in. This is where we move from the internal work of belief to the external architecture of our lives. This is the realm of habits. Your habits are the invisible scaffolding upon which your days are built. They are the automated scripts that your brain runs to conserve energy, accounting for 40 to 50% of your daily actions. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, and your habits are your system. Your current health, your current wealth, your current state of peace or anxiety, these are not the results of a single, dramatic event. They are the lagging measures, the compound interest of the tiny, seemingly insignificant choices you make every single day. One cigarette won't kill you, but a habit of smoking might. One workout won't make you an athlete, but a habit of daily movement will transform your body. Success is not a goal to be pursued, it is an outcome to be automated. To become the architect of your success, you must first understand the mechanics of this automation. In his best-selling audiobook, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg explains that every habit follows a simple, three-step neurological loop. First, there is the cue, the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. This could be a time of day, a specific location, an emotional state, or the preceding action in a sequence. Second, there is the routine, which is the behavior itself, be it physical, mental, or emotional. Finally, there is the reward, which is the payoff you get from the routine. The reward is what tells your brain that this particular loop is useful and worth remembering for the future. For example, the cue might be the feeling of stress at work. The routine might be to leave your desk and go outside to smoke a cigarette. The reward is the temporary relief from the stress, a combination of the chemical hit from nicotine and the psychological break from the work environment. The key to changing a bad habit is not to simply resist it with willpower, but to re-engineer the loop. You keep the same cue and the same reward, but you consciously insert a new routine. The cue, stress, remains. The desired reward, a feeling of relief, remains. But now, you consciously choose a new routine, perhaps 5 minutes of deep, meditative breathing, or a brisk walk around the block. By consistently executing this new loop, you are overriding the old programming, teaching your brain a new, more empowering way to achieve the same desired feeling of relief. This process of re-engineering can feel daunting, which is why so many of our New Year's resolutions fail by February. We try to make massive, heroic changes overnight. We go from being a couch potato to trying to hit the gym for 2 hours a day. This approach is unsustainable because it requires a level of willpower that we simply cannot maintain. A more effective, and profoundly more powerful, approach is detailed by James Clear in his masterwork, Atomic Habits. Clear argues that we dramatically overestimate the importance of single, defining moments and tragically underestimate the value of making small, incremental improvements on a daily basis. He calls these atomic habits-tiny changes that seem insignificant on their own, but which compound into remarkable results over time. He illustrates this with stunningly simple math. If you can get just 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day, your progress will decline nearly down to zero. Your life today is the sum of 1,000 tiny choices, and your life tomorrow will be the sum of the choices you make today. The question is not, how can I achieve a massive goal? The question is, how can I get just 1% better today? Perhaps the most compelling real-world example of this philosophy in action is the story of the British cycling team. For the better part of a century, They were the definition of mediocrity in the world of professional cycling. They had endured almost 100 years of unremarkable results, never winning a Tour de France and claiming only a handful of medals in the Olympics. Their performance was so underwhelming that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe refused to sell bikes to the team, fearing it would damage their reputation if other professionals saw them using their gear. In 2003, everything changed when they hired Sir Dave Brailsford as their new performance director. Brailsford's strategy was simple, yet revolutionary. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains. He believed that if they could just improve every single tiny thing that goes into riding a bike by just 1%, those gains would compound to create a stunning overall increase in performance. They started with the obvious things, like redesigning the bike seats to be more comfortable and rubbing alcohol on the tires for better grip. But they didn't stop there. They looked for 1% improvements in the most overlooked and unexpected areas. They tested different massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach the riders the most effective way to wash their hands to reduce the chances of catching a cold. They tested different types of pillows and mattresses to ensure each athlete got the optimal night's sleep. They even painted the inside of the team truck white, which helped them spot little bits of dust that could degrade the performance of the finely tuned bikes. On their own, each of these tiny adjustments seemed trivial, almost obsessive. But Brailsford's theory was correct. The aggregation of these marginal gains compounded in a way that no one could have predicted. The results were almost immediate. At the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games, the British cycling team won a staggering 60% of the gold medals available in their sport. 4 years later, at the London Olympics, they set 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. That same year, Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist ever to win the Tour de France. The next year, his teammate Chris Froome won it. For a decade, the British team dominated the world of cycling in a way that was previously unimaginable. Their success was not the result of a single breakthrough, but the cumulative effect of hundreds of tiny habits and improvements. It is a powerful testament that success is not an event, it is a process. It is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. In your own life, the prospect of changing dozens of tiny things at once can still feel overwhelming. This is why it is crucial to identify and focus on what are known as keystone habits. A keystone habit is a single, specific routine that creates a positive domino effect, naturally pulling other good habits into place along with it. For many, exercise is a keystone habit. When they start exercising consistently, they don't consciously try to eat better, but they find themselves naturally wanting healthier foods. They sleep more soundly. Their productivity at work increases. Another powerful keystone habit is the simple act of making your bed every morning. It is a small win that provides a tiny injection of pride and sets a tone of order and discipline for the rest of the day. Ask yourself, what is the one habit that, if I were to implement it consistently, would cause the most significant positive ripple effect in my life? Start there. Master that one atomic, keystone habit. Building these new habits, however small, undoubtedly requires discipline and focus, especially in the beginning as you forge those new neural pathways. But willpower is a finite resource. It is like a muscle that gets fatigued with overuse throughout the day. What happens when your initial motivation fades? What system can you rely on when your discipline inevitably wavers? To truly make these habits stick, we need a practice that goes deeper than sheer force of will. We need a way to quiet the frantic, decision-fatigued mind and reconnect with our core energy. A practice that makes choosing the right action less of a struggle and more of a natural extension of who we are. This requires us to cultivate the art of inner stillness, the practice of meditation and mindfulness. If the deliberate cultivation of habits is the act of planting a new garden, then the practice of meditation and mindfulness is the sunlight and the rain that allows it to grow with ease. We have established that willpower is a finite resource, a flickering candle that can be easily extinguished by the winds of stress and fatigue. To rely solely on discipline to build a new life is to choose the path of most resistance. There is a deeper, more sustainable source of power available to us, a source that is found not in forceful effort, but in profound stillness. This is the art of meditation, a practice not designed to add another task to your already busy life, but to fundamentally transform the quality of your consciousness, making every other task easier, clearer, and more effective. It is the ultimate keystone habit, the one practice that nourishes the roots of all others. The single greatest misconception about meditation, the one that causes most people to try it for a week and then quit in frustration, is the belief that its goal is to stop your thoughts. Let this be clear, you cannot stop your thoughts, nor should you try. The mind's job is to produce thoughts, just as the heart's job is to beat. To try and force your mind into silence is to declare war on your own nature, a war you will never win. The true purpose of meditation is not to eliminate your thoughts, but to change your relationship to them. It is the practice of shifting from being a character lost in the chaotic drama of your own mind, to becoming the calm, objective audience member watching the play unfold. You learn to witness your thoughts as they arise and pass, without judgment, without entanglement, and without believing that they are who you are. Imagine your consciousness, your true essence, is the vast, open, limitless blue sky. It is inherently peaceful, spacious, and serene. Your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, and your sensations are the clouds that drift through that sky. Some clouds are white and fluffy. These are your happy thoughts and pleasant feelings. Some clouds are dark and stormy. These are your fears, your anxieties, and your painful memories. From the ground, when a dark storm cloud covers the sky, it can seem as if the entire sky itself has become dark and menacing. But this is an illusion. Above that storm cloud, the blue sky remains untouched, unstained, and utterly peaceful. Meditation is the practice of learning to identify, not with the fleeting clouds, but with the eternal, unchanging sky. It teaches you to recognize that a dark thought is just a thought, a passing weather pattern in your consciousness. It is not you. This realization creates a profound sense of inner space and freedom. The storms may come, but you no longer fear them, because you know that you are the sky that holds them, not the storm itself. The renowned spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle, in his transformative audiobook The Power of Now, explains how this practice is the key to dissolving our deepest suffering. He introduces the concept of the pain body, which is the accumulation of all the old, unprocessed emotional pain from our lives. It is a semi-dormant energy field within us, made up of past grief, anger, and fear. This pain body, Tolle explains, needs to feed to survive, and its food is more pain. Periodically, it will activate and hijack your mind, causing you to generate intensely negative thoughts and create dramatic situations in your life, all in order to generate the suffering it needs to feed on. You find yourself picking a fight for no reason, or spiraling into a vortex of despair over a minor issue. This is often the pain body at work. Tolle's solution is radical in its simplicity. You cannot fight the pain body. You cannot think your way out of it. The only thing that can dissolve it is the light of your conscious presence. When you feel the pain body activating, instead of getting lost in the negative thoughts it generates, you bring your full, non-judgmental attention to the feeling of the energy inside your physical body. You observe it with the curiosity of a scientist. You feel its texture, its location, its intensity, without creating a mental story about it. The pain body cannot survive this conscious presence. It is like a shadow that cannot exist in the light. By simply observing it, you cut off its food supply, and it begins to dissolve. This is the practice of mindfulness as a profound tool for healing and liberation. This is not just spiritual philosophy, it is verifiable science. Consistent mindfulness and meditation practices have been shown to physically change the brain and the body in remarkable ways. On a physiological level, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest mode. This counteracts the chronic fight or flight state, fueled by the stress hormone cortisol, that so many of us live in. It lowers blood pressure, improves immune function, and promotes deeper sleep. The neurological changes are even more stunning. Neuroscientists, using fMRI scans, have found that meditation can actually shrink the amygdala, the primitive part of our brain that acts as our fear and anxiety center. As the amygdala shrinks, people become less reactive and less prone to stress. Simultaneously, the practice thickens the prefrontal cortex, the most evolved part of our brain, responsible for higher-order functions like awareness, concentration, and rational decision-making. In essence, meditation is a workout for your brain that weakens the part that creates fear and strengthens the part that creates conscious choice. Getting started does not require you to sit in a lotus position for an hour. The power is in consistency, not duration. You can begin with simple, practical techniques. The most fundamental is the mindful breath. Simply sit comfortably, close your eyes, and bring your full attention to the sensation of your breathing. Feel the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and the feeling of your belly expanding. Then feel the air as it leaves your body. Your mind will wander. It will drift to your to-do list, to a conversation you had yesterday, to what you want for dinner. This is not a failure. This is the moment of practice. The moment you notice your mind has wandered. You gently, and without any judgment, guide your attention back to your breath. That act of noticing and gently returning is the rep of the mental exercise. Another powerful technique is a simple body scan. Lying down, you bring your attention sequentially to each part of your body, from your toes to the crown of your head, simply noticing whatever sensations are present: warmth, coolness, tingling, pressure, without any need to change them. This is a profound way to quiet the mind and reconnect with the physical body, grounding you firmly in the present moment. You can even integrate this into your day. While washing the dishes, instead of being lost in thought, bring your full attention to the feeling of the warm water on your hands. While drinking a cup of coffee, fully experience the aroma, the warmth of the mug, the taste. This transforms mundane moments into opportunities for peace. As you cultivate this inner stillness, a remarkable thing begins to happen. The turbulent, muddy waters of your mind begin to settle. As the sediment of anxious thoughts and constant mental chatter sinks to the bottom, the water becomes clear. And in this clarity, you can finally see what lies beneath the surface. You start to hear a much subtler signal, a quieter form of guidance that was previously drowned out by the noise. These are the whispers of intuition, the gentle nudges of inspiration from the universe. A mind at peace is like a highly sensitive receiver, capable of picking up the delicate frequencies of inspired thought. This inner clarity is the essential prerequisite for the next stage of our journey, for it allows us to distinguish between the frantic, fear-based need to hustle and the calm, powerful, and infinitely more effective path of inspired action. With a mind cultivated for stillness, we become like a calm, clear lake, capable of reflecting the sky and receiving the light of inspiration. It is in this state of inner quiet that we begin to perceive a different way of engaging with the world, a path of action that is not born of frantic effort, but of graceful unfolding. Our modern culture is built upon a pervasive and often toxic myth, the myth of the hustle. We are taught to glorify exhaustion as a badge of honor, to sacrifice our well-being at the altar of productivity, and to believe that the only way to achieve anything of significance is to relentlessly push, grind, and force our will upon the world. This is the path of the warrior, constantly battling against circumstances, fueled by the fear of not having enough, not doing enough, and not being enough. It can produce results, yes, but at a tremendous cost to our health, our relationships, and our peace of mind. It is the spiritual equivalent of trying to push a river upstream. But there is another way, a more elegant and infinitely more powerful path. This is the path of inspired action. Inspired action is the antithesis of hustle. It does not come from a place of lack, but from a place of fullness. It is not a frantic push, but a gentle pull. It is the natural, effortless next step that appears before you after you have done the inner work of aligning your thoughts and emotions with your intention. Hustle feels heavy, stressful, and draining, like pushing a giant boulder up a steep hill. Inspired action feels light, exciting, and energizing, like catching a perfect wave and effortlessly riding it to shore. Hustle is the ego's attempt to control the universe, to dictate the terms and the timeline. Inspired action is the soul's willingness to dance with the universe, to trust its rhythm and its timing. Imagine you are facing a locked door. The way of hustle is to grab a sledgehammer and try to smash the door down, an exhausting and destructive process. The way of inspired action is to quiet your mind, get into alignment, and then notice that the key to the door has just appeared in your pocket. You then calmly walk up, unlock the door, and step through with ease. Both methods may get you through the door, but they represent two entirely different states of being. Perhaps the most extraordinary real-world demonstration of a life built on inspired action is the story of Michael A. Singer, as chronicled in his breathtaking memoir, The Surrender Experiment. In the early 1970s, as a young man, Singer had a profound spiritual awakening and decided to dedicate his life to one single goal, quieting the incessant, neurotic voice in his head. He retreated to a small patch of land in the woods of Florida to live a life of simple seclusion and meditation. It was there he embarked on a radical experiment. He made the decision to completely surrender to the flow of life, to let go of his personal preferences, his likes and dislikes, and simply say yes to whatever legitimate opportunities the universe brought to his doorstep. He decided to let life be his spiritual teacher. What followed was a journey that defies all conventional logic of success. Life began presenting him with situations. A local college needed someone to teach a class. Singer's ego mind screamed no. He wanted only his solitude. But his experiment demanded he say yes. He took the job and discovered he was a gifted and beloved teacher. Then, people began showing up on his land, drawn to his energy, wanting to meditate with him. Again, his preference was for solitude, but the flow of life was bringing them to him, so he said yes. This organic gathering grew over the years into a large, thriving yoga and meditation community known as the Temple of the Universe. To help manage the community's bookstore, he taught himself how to code on one of the first personal computers. Soon, a local business owner heard about his skill and asked him to write a simple program. He said yes. That small task led to another and another. He found himself, much to his own surprise, running a small software company from his spiritual sanctuary. He never created a business plan, he never sought investment, he never hustled for a single client. He simply kept saying yes to the flow. This accidental company continued to grow, and in one of the most improbable stories in business history, it became Medical Manager, a multi-billion-dollar, publicly traded corporation that revolutionized the entire medical billing industry. Michael Singer achieved a level of worldly success that most titans of industry only dream of. And he did it not by chasing a single goal, but by letting go of them all. His life is the ultimate testament to the principle that there is a greater intelligence at work in the flow of the universe than in the most ambitious plans of our limited ego. He proved that surrender is not passive resignation. It is an active and powerful trust in a higher order. He mastered the art of getting out of his own way and allowing a greater force to work through him. So how do we learn to recognize this flow in our own lives? How do we distinguish between a true nudge from the universe and a random, anxious impulse from our own mind? The answer, as always, lies in the feeling. Anxious, fear-based thought feels constricting, heavy, and complicated. It often comes with a frantic urgency. An inspired thought, a true universal nudge, feels different. It feels light, clear, expansive, and often has a quality of simple, elegant logic. It might be a sudden urge to drive a different way home, to call a friend you haven't spoken to in years, or to finally start writing that book. There is a sense of rightness to it, a feeling of clicking into place. This is the state of flow, a term coined by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi to describe a state of total immersion in an activity, where our sense of time disappears and we feel our actions and our awareness merging into one. When we are in flow, we are not struggling or forcing, we are channeling. The practices of meditation and clarifying our intention are the training ground for this state. They make us more sensitive to the initial whispers of inspiration and more willing to trust them. Learning to live in this state of flow is a core competency of the conscious creator. It is the shift from fighting the world to dancing with it, from making things happen to letting things happen. As we begin to act from this place of calm, inspired alignment, we will inevitably find that our actions require us to interact with other people. We may need to share our vision, offer our service, or build a team to support our creation. To do this effectively, our inspired actions must be supported by authentic connections. We must now learn how to build relationships not through the forceful hustle of traditional networking, but through the graceful flow of energetic alignment, creating a network built on genuine value, mutual respect, and authentic interest. As we learn to act from a place of inner stillness and inspired flow, our journey inevitably leads us into the world of people. Our greatest creations, our most profound wealth, and our deepest fulfillment are almost always co-created in the dance of human connection. This brings us to the concept of our network. But we must immediately reframe this word, stripping it of its cold, transactional connotations. We are not talking about networking in the sense of collecting contacts and working a room with a hidden agenda. We are talking about weaving a living, breathing ecosystem of authentic relationships. The old saying, "Your network is your net worth," holds a deep truth, but not in the way it is commonly understood. True value lies not in the quantity of your connections, but in the quality of your energetic resonance with them. A small circle of deep, trusting, authentic relationships is an asset of infinite worth, while a vast database of shallow contacts is merely a liability, a drain on your time and energy. To build this vibrant ecosystem, we can look to the timeless wisdom of Dale Carnegie's classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. While some have viewed these principles as a manual for manipulation, that is a profound misreading of their power. When approached from a place of genuine sincerity and a desire to serve, they become a beautiful guide to honoring the spirit in others. The first and most important principle is to become genuinely interested in other people. This is not a tactic, it is a spiritual orientation. People possess an innate, powerful intuition, and they can feel the energetic difference between someone who is feigning interest to get something and someone who is truly curious about who they are. The next time you meet someone, consciously silence the inner voice that is asking, "What can this person do for me?" And instead, activate the voice of wonder that asks, "What is this person's story? What are they passionate about? What lights them up?" This simple, internal shift is revolutionary. It transforms a potentially awkward interaction into an opportunity for true human connection. Carnegie also emphasizes the profound power of listening. To be a good listener, to encourage others to talk about themselves, is to offer one of the rarest and most precious gifts in our noisy, distracted world. Most people do not listen. They simply wait for their turn to talk. To offer someone your silent, undivided attention, to make them feel that what they have to say is the most important thing in the world in that moment, is to create a sacred space of trust and respect. It is in this space that real relationships are forged. This is not about being passive, it is about being present. And when you do speak, Carnegie advises that you talk in terms of the other person's interests. Again, this is not manipulation, it is empathy. It is the art of finding the bridge between your world and theirs, of showing them you understand what they care about. When you can articulate someone else's problem better than they can themselves, they will instinctively trust that you have the solution. This approach aligns perfectly with a fundamental law of the universe, the law of reciprocity. The energy you send out is the energy that returns to you. In the context of relationships, this means you must lead with generosity. The philosophy outlined in the wonderful parable, The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann, captures this perfectly. The secret to extraordinary success is to shift your focus from what you can get to what you can give. You must be willing to provide value first, without any expectation of an immediate or direct return. This could be as simple as sharing a helpful article, offering a word of encouragement, or making an introduction between two people who you feel could benefit from knowing each other. Each time you give freely of your knowledge, your time, or your connections, you are making a deposit into a universal trust fund. You are building a deep reservoir of goodwill and positive energy that will, by law, flow back to you, often from the most unexpected sources, precisely when you need it most. All of these principles, genuine interest, deep listening, and a giving spirit are held together by the single most powerful force in human connection: authenticity. We live in an age that pressures us to create a personal brand, a carefully curated and polished version of ourselves to present to the world. But this polished facade is cold and sterile. It offers nothing for the human spirit to connect with. True connection is not sparked by perfection. It is sparked by vulnerability. When you have the courage to be unapologetically yourself, your quirky, passionate, imperfect, authentic self, you send out a clear and powerful signal to the world. This signal acts as a perfect energetic filter. It will naturally and effortlessly repel people who are not in alignment with your true vibration, saving you immense time and energy. And, more importantly, it will act as an irresistible magnet for the right people. It will draw to you your tribe, your soul family, your ideal clients, your perfect collaborators. You do not need to go out and find your people. You need to let your people find you by having the courage to simply be yourself. Imagine two entrepreneurs at a conference. The first, let's call him Mark, operates by the old rules. He speeds around the room, armed with a slick elevator pitch, shaking hands and collecting business cards. His mind is a constant calculation. What can this person do for me? His interactions are brief, shallow, and ultimately forgettable. He leaves with a stack of cards, but no real connections. The second entrepreneur, Sarah, operates from a place of authenticity. She has only 2 conversations the entire evening, but in those conversations, she is fully present. She asks thoughtful questions. She listens with genuine curiosity. She learns about the other person's challenges and passions. A week later, she sends one of them an article she found on a topic they had discussed, with a simple note saying, "I thought of you when I saw this, hope it helps." She expects nothing in return. She has created a genuine bond. Months later, when Sarah is launching a new project and needs advice or a strategic partner, who do you think will be more eager and delighted to take her call? Mark's shallow contacts or Sarah's deep, trusting ally? When you combine the clarity of inspired action with a supportive ecosystem of authentic relationships, you become a powerful force for creation. You are moving with the flow of the universe. And you are supported by a tribe that believes in you and wants you to succeed. However, the path of growth and creation is never a straight, unbroken line upward. The universe, in its wisdom, will test your resolve. The river of life will have rapids and downturns. You will be presented with challenges, obstacles, and situations that, on the surface, look and feel like abject failure. Your ability to navigate these moments without losing your faith, your ability to see the gift within the struggle, is the next critical skill you must master on the journey to lasting wealth. As you move through the world with the clarity of inspired action, supported by the strength of an authentic network, you will begin to feel a powerful momentum building. You are in the flow, co-creating with the universe, and it is an exhilarating state of being. But the river of life is not a placid, man-made canal. It is a wild, natural force with twists, turns, and turbulent rapids. It is an absolute certainty that on your journey of growth, you will encounter obstacles. You will face setbacks. You will experience moments that, by every conventional definition, look and feel like failure. In our culture, failure is treated as a verdict, a shameful endpoint to be avoided at all costs. But in the language of the universe, there is no such thing as failure. There is only feedback. To see failure as anything else is to misinterpret one of the most valuable and instructive forms of guidance you will ever receive. A setback is not a stop sign, it is a yield sign. It is a gentle, or sometimes not so gentle, course correction from a universe that has a far grander view than you do. It is crucial data, priceless information, that is telling you something you need to know. Perhaps it's telling you, not this particular path, there is a better one for you. Perhaps it's telling you, not right now. You need to develop another skill or gain more experience first. Or perhaps, most profoundly, it is a test. When you declare a bold and worthy intention to the universe often responds with a simple question: are you serious? The challenges that arise are not there to defeat you, they are there to forge you. They are the fire that burns away your flimsy, half-hearted desires, leaving only the pure, unbreakable core of your true conviction. Every obstacle you face and overcome is a powerful declaration that you are committed, that you are worthy of the outcome you seek. In surmounting the challenge, you become the person who is capable of handling the success that awaits. There is perhaps no greater modern story of this principle in action than that of J.K. Rowling. Today, we see her as a titan of literary and financial success, but her journey was paved with what the world would call failure. As a single mother, struggling to make ends meet, she poured her entire heart and soul into a story about a young wizard. Once the manuscript was complete, she sent it out to publishing houses, full of hope. The first publisher rejected it, then the second, then the third. In total, 12 different publishing houses looked at the story of Harry Potter and declared it unworthy. Imagine the weight of that feedback. Imagine the crushing disappointment with each returned manuscript. It would have been the easiest thing in the world for her to accept that verdict, to put the manuscript in a drawer and conclude that she had failed. The world was giving her overwhelming evidence that her creation was worthless. But we can reframe this entire sequence of events. Those 12 rejections were not a verdict on her talent. They were a profound test of her faith in her own creation. With each no, the universe was asking her, do you still believe in this boy? Is this story still important to you, even when the most powerful gatekeepers in the world tell you it has no value? How much do you really want this? Her refusal to quit was her answer. Her persistence in the face of rejection was her passing the test. When the 13th publisher, Bloomsbury, finally said yes, it was not just a lucky break. It was the universe responding to a woman who had proven, beyond any doubt, that she was unbreakably committed to her vision. Her success was not a reward for writing a good story. It was a reward for her resilience, for her ability to treat crushing failure as mere feedback and to hold on to her belief when no one else would. This leads us to a powerful concept developed by the philosopher and author Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the idea of being antifragile. We are often taught to be resilient or robust, like a rock that can withstand pressure and remain unchanged. But Taleb suggests there is a higher, more powerful state of being. The fragile is that which breaks under stress, like a wine glass. The resilient withstands stress. But the antifragile is that which actually becomes stronger from stress, shock, and volatility. Think of the human immune system. When it is exposed to a pathogen, it is stressed, but it learns from the encounter and becomes stronger and more prepared for the future. Think of weightlifters who tear their muscle fibers, only for them to grow back thicker and more powerful than before. This must be our goal. We should not aim to merely survive our setbacks. We must aim to metabolize them, to use the energy of the challenge itself to grow into a more capable, wise, and powerful version of ourselves. You can begin this practice today by re-examining your own past. Think of a failure from your history that was painful at the time. A failed business, a difficult breakup, a project that fell apart. Now, instead of focusing on the pain, ask yourself a new set of questions. What did that experience force me to learn? What inner strength did I discover only because I was tested in that way? What limiting belief did that failure expose and allow me to heal? In what unexpected way did that closed door force me onto a better, more authentic path? When you learn to look at your past through this lens, you will begin to see that your most difficult moments were often your greatest teachers in disguise. You were not failing, you were being forged. When you are faced with a new challenge, resist the temptation to fall into blame or despair. Instead, get curious. Ask the universe, what are you trying to teach me here? What is the opportunity hidden inside this obstacle? The ability to consistently reframe failure as feedback and to use it to become anti-fragile is not just a mental trick. It is a profound spiritual practice built on a foundation of deep and abiding trust. It is the trust that even when events seem to be going wrong, even when your world feels like it is falling apart, there is a higher intelligence at work. It is the unwavering faith that everything is ultimately unfolding for your highest good. This kind of radical trust does not mean that you become passive or stop caring about your goals. It means that you learn to hold your goals with a new lightness, a new grace. It leads us to the next essential art form for the conscious creator, the subtle and powerful practice of letting go, of detaching from the tyranny of the outcome, and allowing the universe to work its magic in its own time and its own way. Having learned to see the gift in our setbacks, we arrive at a spiritual practice that is at once the most subtle and the most powerful on this entire journey. It is the art of allowing, the grace of letting go. This is the central paradox of creation, a sacred mystery that, once understood, unlocks a profound sense of peace and accelerates our manifestations in ways that forceful effort never can. The paradox is this: to bring something into your life, you must desire it with a clear and passionate focus, yet you must also be utterly and completely at peace with the possibility of it never arriving. You must hold your desires with an open hand, not a clenched fist. This sounds like a contradiction, but it is the master key to aligning with the effortless flow of the universe. The reason for this lies in the very physics of vibration. When you are desperately attached to an outcome, you are operating from a place of neediness. Neediness is the energetic signature of lack. It is a powerful, non-verbal declaration to the universe that says, I am not whole without this thing. My happiness is contingent upon this external event. This frequency of desperation, of grasping, of clinging, is a repellent. It is a chaotic, jagged energy that creates resistance between you and your desire. It is like trying to catch a butterfly with a net. The more frantically you chase it, the more erratically it flies away. But if you sit still in a meadow, calm and content, the butterfly may just come and land gently on your shoulder. Detachment is the art of becoming that still, peaceful meadow. It is crucial to understand that detachment is not the same as indifference or apathy. Indifference is saying, I don't care about this goal. Detachment is saying, I am 100% committed to my intention and I will take every inspired action that flows to me. But I unconditionally surrender the final outcome, the timing, and the specific details to the wisdom of the universe. You still plant the seed, you still water the soil, but you do not try to control the process of its growth. This white-knuckled need to control outcomes is a direct product of the human ego, as Eckhart Tolle so brilliantly illuminates in his audiobook, A New Earth. The ego derives its entire sense of identity from external things. It believes that it is its possessions, its job title, its achievements, its relationships. Therefore, when a desired outcome is threatened, the ego perceives it as a threat to its very survival. This is the source of the intense anxiety, the sleepless nights, the constant mental calculations. It is the ego fighting for its life. The practice of detachment is the practice of shifting your sense of self away from these external, temporary forms, and grounding your identity in the formless, timeless consciousness that you truly are. When you know, on a deep, cellular level, that you are the vast, peaceful sky, you can enjoy the process of watching the clouds of your life, your goals, your projects, your desires without your well-being, being dependent on any particular formation they may take. You can participate fully in the game of life with passion and joy, precisely because you know that your true self is not defined by winning or losing. Let us imagine a wise farmer who wishes to grow a magnificent crop of corn. Her intention is clear. She performs her work with diligence and care. She prepares the soil, ensuring it is rich and fertile. She selects the highest quality seeds. She plants them at the perfect depth and spacing. She does everything that is within her power to do. Now, once the seeds are in the ground, what is her next action? Does she go out every morning with a shovel and dig up the seeds to check if they are sprouting? Does she stand over the field, shouting at them, demanding that they grow faster? Of course not. To do so would be absurd. It would destroy the very harvest she desires. The wise farmer, having done her part, now lets go. She surrenders. She trusts the process. She trusts in the intelligence of the sun, the nourishment of the rain, and the innate, miraculous wisdom that lies dormant within each seed. She waters the field. She protects it from weeds, but she does not interfere with the mysterious and sacred process of germination itself. She allows nature to work its magic. This is the perfect model for conscious creation. We must be like the wise farmer. We do our part, we set the clear intention, we take the inspired action, and then, with a heart full of faith, we let go and allow the universe, the great farmer, to bring forth the harvest in its own perfect time and its own perfect way. This practice of surrender also opens you up to possibilities far grander than your limited mind could ever conceive. Often, we fixate on one specific version of our desire, one particular job, one particular house, one particular person, believing that this is the only path to our happiness. When it doesn't work out, we are devastated. But what if the universe didn't give you what you thought you wanted because it had something infinitely better in store for you? What if that job you didn't get was actually a dead end, and its rejection forced you to start the business that would bring you true freedom? What if that relationship that ended was preventing you from meeting the true love of your life? When we are desperately attached to one specific outcome, we close ourselves off to all other possibilities. A powerful way to practice this surrender is to add a simple, graceful clause to all of your intentions. I am creating this, or something even better. This phrase is an act of humility. It is an acknowledgement that your vision is limited, and that the universe's vision for you is limitless. It opens the door for miracles, for joyous surprises, for blessings that you couldn't have even imagined. This state of allowing, of detached trust, is one of the most peaceful and harmonious states a human being can experience. It is the feeling of floating safely in the river of life, knowing that its current is carrying you exactly where you need to go. It is the end of struggle, the end of resistance, the end of fear. And while this state can be cultivated through practice, there is one emotional discipline, one simple shift in focus, that can instantly transport you into this state of grace and amplify its power 1,000-fold. It is the foundation of all high-vibration living, the golden key that unlocks the floodgates of universal abundance. It is the simple, yet world-altering, magic of gratitude. In the peaceful, open state of allowing, where we have surrendered our desperate need to control the universe, we create the perfect fertile ground for miracles. And the single most powerful nutrient we can add to this soil, the one element that guarantees a magnificent and abundant harvest, is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a polite courtesy or a pleasant emotion. It is the master frequency of creation. It is the golden key that unlocks the floodgates of universal abundance and the ultimate multiplier for all good things in your life. To understand its power, we must see it not just as a feeling, but as a vibrational statement we are constantly making to the universe. When you are in a state of genuine gratitude, you are humming at the frequency of receiving. The law of attraction, in its perfect, impersonal logic, does not distinguish between what you currently possess and what you are asking for. It responds only to your current vibrational offering. When you feel deep, heartfelt gratitude, you are vibrating at the frequency of a prayer that has already been answered. You are sending out a powerful signal to the universe that says, I have received. I am blessed. I am whole. The universe, like a cosmic mirror, simply reflects this signal back to you, bringing you even more experiences, circumstances, and blessings to be grateful for. It is a divine, self-perpetuating feedback loop. To feel gratitude is to tell the universe, with absolute conviction, more of this, please. It is the most powerful and direct way to close the energetic gap between where you are and where you want to be. It is an act of supreme faith, a declaration that you trust that you are being provided for, both now and in the future. In her audiobook, The Magic, Rhonda Byrne devotes an entire volume to this single principle, illustrating how a conscious and sustained practice of gratitude can radically transform every area of a person's life. Consider the story of a man we'll call David. David was at a low point. His business was failing. His relationships were strained, and he was drowning in a sea of cynicism and victimhood. He saw only what was wrong, what was missing, what was broken. A friend, seeing his despair, suggested he try a simple exercise. Every morning, before checking his phone or reading the news, he was to write down 10 things in his life that he was genuinely grateful for. And for each one, he had to truly try and feel the gratitude in his heart. David was skeptical, but he was also desperate, so he agreed to try. The first few days were a struggle. His mind, so accustomed to focusing on problems, could barely find anything to appreciate. He wrote down the basics. I am grateful for my coffee. I am grateful for the roof over my head. I am grateful for my bed. The words felt hollow, but he persisted. By the end of the first week, something began to shift. He started looking for things to add to his list. He noticed the warmth of the sun on his face during his lunch break, and he felt a flicker of genuine appreciation. He received a friendly smile from a cashier, and he felt a moment of connection. He wrote these things down. He was, without realizing it, retraining his brain. He was teaching his reticular activating system to scan the world not for threats and problems, but for blessings and small joys. As his focus shifted, his energy began to change. His default state moved from cynical despair to a quiet sense of appreciation. People began to respond to this new, lighter energy. An old client called out of the blue to offer him a new project. A strained conversation with his brother ended in laughter instead of an argument. An idea for how to streamline his business came to him while he was on a walk. A walk he only took because he was starting to appreciate the nature around his neighborhood. Over the course of several months, David's entire life was transformed. His business recovered, his relationships healed, and he felt a sense of peace and optimism he hadn't experienced in years. David did not change his life by hustling harder or forcing his will on the world. He changed his life by changing the object of his attention. He shifted from the frequency of lack to the frequency of gratitude, and the universe had no choice but to rearrange his reality to match his new song. This story is not a fantasy, it is an illustration of applied neuroscience. Scientists have confirmed that a consistent gratitude practice creates measurable, positive changes in the brain. When you consciously focus on feelings of appreciation, your brain releases a cascade of feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. It is, in effect, a natural antidepressant and anti-anxiety medicine. More profoundly, it physically rewires your neural pathways. Our brains evolved with a negativity bias, a survival mechanism that made us hyper-aware of potential dangers. In the modern world, this bias keeps us stuck in a loop of worry and fear. Gratitude practice is the conscious antidote. It carves new neural pathways, training your brain to habitually scan for the positive. It literally transforms your brain from a threat detection device into a blessing detection device. You can begin this practice in your own life with simple, powerful techniques. The gratitude journal, as in David's story, is a cornerstone practice for many. A rampage of appreciation is a wonderful verbal exercise you can do anytime you feel your mood slipping. You simply start with one thing you appreciate in your immediate environment. I am so grateful for this comfortable chair, and then you let the positive momentum build, flowing from one grateful thought to the next. This chair supports my body. I'm so grateful I have a healthy body. I'm grateful for my legs that allow me to walk. This quickly and powerfully raises your vibrational state. Another beautiful practice is to carry a small gratitude rock in your pocket. Every time your fingers touch it throughout the day, it serves as a physical cue to pause and think of one thing you are grateful for in that exact moment. It sprinkles your day with dozens of moments of high vibration consciousness. The most advanced form of this practice is to begin giving thanks for the things that have not yet manifested in your physical reality. When you write down your goals and intentions, frame them as statements of gratitude. Instead of writing, I want to find my soulmate, write, I am so incredibly grateful for the loving, supportive, and joyous relationship I share with my perfect partner. Instead of, I want to be debt-free, write, thank you, thank you, thank you for the overwhelming financial abundance that has set me completely free. This is not an act of delusion. It is an act of supreme faith. It is the practice of aligning your energy so perfectly with your desire that it feels as if it has already been received. You are matching the frequency of the wish fulfilled, which is the most powerful and direct path to its materialization. The consistent practice of gratitude fundamentally alters our perception of the world. It shifts our entire operating system from a default of lack to a default of profound abundance. We stop seeing what is missing and start celebrating all that is present. This newfound perspective of abundance allows us to see the true value of all the resources we command, resources we may have previously taken for granted. And this leads us to consider the most precious, valuable, and non-renewable resource of all. It is the one asset that, once spent, can never be earned back, the one currency that is distributed to all of us in equal measure each morning. This is the incredible wealth of time. With a heart full of gratitude, you begin to see the world not through a lens of scarcity, but through a lens of profound and overwhelming abundance. You recognize the wealth that is already yours, in your health, in your relationships, in the very air that you breathe. This shift in perspective brings you face to face with the most valuable and most democratic asset you will ever possess. It is a form of wealth that cannot be bought, sold, or inherited. It is the one resource that, once spent, is gone forever. This is the sacred wealth of time. Each morning, the universe deposits 86,400 seconds into your account, and it is your choice, and your choice alone, how you will invest them. You can lose every dollar to your name and have the capacity to earn it all back, but you can never recover a single wasted hour. Mastering your time is not about squeezing more tasks into your day. It is about infusing your moments with more life, purpose, and intention. Our culture has fallen in love with the illusion of busy. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor, believing that a full calendar is a sign of a full life. But this is a dangerous deception. We must learn to distinguish between motion and action. Motion is checking your email for the 10th time, attending meetings that have no clear agenda, and scrolling endlessly through social media feeds. Motion feels like work. It makes you feel busy, but it does not produce meaningful results. Action, on the other hand, is the work that moves you closer to your goals. It is making the sales call, writing the chapter, having the difficult conversation. Many people spend their entire lives in frantic motion, yet take very little meaningful action. The first step in mastering your time is to stop valuing busyness and start valuing effectiveness. The goal is not to do more things, but to do more of the right things. To identify these right things, we can turn to a powerful mental model known as the Pareto principle, or the 80-20th rule, first observed by the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto. This principle states that, in many systems, roughly 80% of the results come from just 20% of the efforts. This is a law of nature. 20% of your customers will likely account for 80% of your revenue. 20% of your clothes will be worn 80% of the time. This principle is a master key for reclaiming your time and energy. The critical task is to identify the vital few and the trivial many in every area of your life. What are the 20% of your work activities that produce 80% of your desired outcomes? What are the 20% of your relationships that bring you 80% of your joy and support? And, just as importantly, what are the 20% of your habits, thoughts, or relationships that are causing 80% of your stress and anxiety? The art of intentional living is to find the courage to ruthlessly eliminate, delegate, or minimize the trivial 80% in order to create massive space for the vital few. This philosophy is at the heart of Timothy Ferriss's revolutionary audiobook, The 4-Hour Workweek. While the title is provocative, the book's core message is not about idleness, but about a concept Ferriss calls lifestyle design. It is a rejection of the deferred life plan, the old, broken model that demands we sacrifice the best years of our lives at a job we dislike, in the faint hope of being able to finally enjoy ourselves in a distant, uncertain retirement. Ferriss argues for a new currency, freedom of time and location. He champions the idea of distributing mini-retirements throughout your life, rather than saving it all for the end. The goal is to move from being merely efficient, which is doing a task well, to being effective, which is doing the right task in the first place. You must first eliminate what is unnecessary, then automate or delegate what remains, freeing your most precious resource, your creative focus for the high-level work and joyful experiences that truly matter. This is not about becoming rich for the sake of accumulation. It is about creating wealth in time and experiences. To live your richest life now. There is a classic time management story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A professor stood before his class with a large, empty glass jar. He filled the jar to the top with several large rocks. He then asked the students, "Is the jar full?" They all agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of small pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly, and the pebbles rolled into the open areas between the rocks. He then asked the students again, "Is the jar full?" They now understood and agreed it was. The professor then picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. The sand, of course, filled up all the remaining space. "Now," said the professor, "I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The rocks are the truly important things: your health, your family, your spiritual practice, your life's purpose. If everything else was lost and only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. The sand is all the small stuff, the trivial tasks, the distractions, the busy work." He continued, "If you put the sand into the jar first, there is no room for the pebbles or the rocks. The same goes for your life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small, insignificant things, you will never have room for the things that are most important. Pay attention to the rocks, for they are what truly determine the quality of your life. Set your priorities." This leads us to a final, crucial point about time. In our obsession with productivity, we have forgotten the sacredness of rest. We see downtime as a luxury, or worse, as a sign of laziness. But rest, rejuvenation, and even boredom are not the enemies of productivity. They are its essential ingredients. Your mind, like a muscle, requires periods of recovery to function at its peak. Your most brilliant ideas, your most creative solutions, will often not come to you when you are staring at a screen and forcing them, but when you are out for a walk, taking a shower, or simply sitting and letting your mind wander. You must schedule this downtime with the same seriousness that you schedule your most important meetings. It is not an indulgence, it is a strategic necessity for long-term, sustainable success. When you truly master your time, you move from a mindset of scarcity, "I never have enough time," to a mindset of abundance, "I have all the time in the world for what is truly important." You invest your moments with the same care you would invest your money, focusing them on the vital few activities that create the most value, joy, and growth. As you do this, you will find that you are creating an immense surplus of energy and value, not just for yourself, but for those around you. This natural overflow, this realization that you have more than enough, awakens a deep, instinctual desire to share your resources. You come to understand that true wealth is not a dam for hoarding, but a river for circulation. This brings us to the fundamental energetic law that underpins all lasting abundance, the sacred and interconnected principles of giving and receiving. Having mastered the art of investing your time with intention, you begin to operate from a place of profound surplus. You realize that you have more than enough time, more than enough energy, and more than enough creativity for what truly matters. This feeling of inner abundance naturally awakens a deep human instinct, the desire to share, to contribute, and to give. This brings us to a fundamental law of the cosmos, the sacred rhythm that underpins all lasting prosperity. Abundance is not a stagnant pool to be hoarded. It is a flowing, dynamic river of energy. And the cardinal rule of any flowing river is that it must have both an inlet and an outlet. To keep the waters of abundance flowing to you, you must ensure they can flow freely through you. This is the divine and interconnected dance of giving and receiving. Think of the simple, unconscious act of breathing. To receive your next life-giving breath, you must first exhale. You must first let go of the air you are holding. If you were to only inhale, trying to hoard the air in your lungs, you would quickly find yourself in distress. The same is true for the flow of wealth, energy, and opportunity. You must give to receive. This principle is sometimes called the vacuum law of prosperity. The universe abhors a vacuum. When you give freely and joyfully from a place of abundance, you create an energetic empty space, and the universe, in its nature, rushes to fill that space, often with something even greater than what you released. Hoarding, on the other hand, whether it's money, knowledge, or affection, creates stagnation. It is like damming a mighty river. The water becomes murky, still, and lifeless. Giving is the act that keeps the channel open, clear, and in constant, vibrant motion. The Modern Parable, The Go-Giver, by Bob Berg and John David Mann, illustrates this spiritual law with beautiful simplicity. It tells the story of a young, ambitious man named Joe, who is struggling to succeed precisely because he is a go-getter, meaning his entire focus is on what he can get from every situation and every person. He is introduced to a wise and wealthy mentor who teaches him that this approach is fundamentally flawed. The secret to stratospheric success, the mentor explains, lies in shifting your focus entirely from getting to giving. He shares 5 laws, the first of which is the law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. The subsequent laws build on this foundation, teaching that your income is determined by how many people you serve, and your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Joe learns that a sustained focus on bringing value to others, on helping them win, is the most dependable and fulfilling path to his own success. He stops trying to get, and instead dedicates himself to giving. As a result, his life and career blossom in ways he could never have imagined. He learns that you attract success not by pursuing it, but by becoming a person who provides immense value to the world. However, giving is only one half of this sacred equation. To complete the circuit of abundance, you must also learn to be a graceful and open receiver. This, for many, is the more difficult part of the practice. We have been conditioned to believe that it is noble to give but somehow selfish or weak to receive. This creates a massive blockage in the flow. The universe is constantly trying to send you gifts, blessings, and opportunities, but if your channel is closed, they cannot get through. This blockage is usually caused by deep-seated feelings of unworthiness, a subconscious belief that you don't deserve good things. It can also be rooted in guilt, or a fear that receiving something automatically puts you in debt to the giver. To refuse a gift, a compliment, or a helping hand is an act of energetic pride. It denies the giver the joy of their giving, and it tells the universe, "No thank you, I am not open to my good." Learning to receive is a practice. It starts with the small things. When someone pays you a compliment, instead of deflecting it or downplaying it, simply look them in the eye. Breathe it in, and offer a simple, heartfelt thank you. In doing so, you are affirming your worthiness and declaring yourself open to receive the blessings that are your birthright. It is also vital to expand our definition of what it means to give. Giving is not limited to financial transactions. You can be the most generous person in the room without ever spending a dime. You can give the gift of your time, offering someone your focused, undivided presence, which is one of the most valuable commodities in our distracted world. You can give the gift of your talent, sharing your knowledge or skill with someone who is struggling. You can give the gift of your words, offering a genuine word of praise, a heartfelt encouragement, or a long overdue apology. You can give the gift of your touch, a comforting hand on a shoulder that communicates more than words ever could. These are the currencies of the heart, and they often create a far deeper and more lasting impact than money alone. Within this framework, the ancient practice of tithing can be seen not as a religious duty, but as a profound spiritual technology for cultivating an abundance mindset. The practice of giving away a set percentage of your income, traditionally 10%, is a powerful declaration of faith. It is a physical action that demonstrates your belief in an infinite source. It says to the universe, "I trust so completely in the flow of abundance that I can release this portion with joy, knowing that my channel is wide open and that I will always be provided for." It is a way of short-circuiting the fear-based, scarcity-driven part of the brain. It is an act of demonstrating your trust over your fear. And the universe will always reward such faith. To be a clear and open channel for this divine flow of giving and receiving, the vessel itself must be strong, clean, and vital. You cannot pour from an empty cup, nor can you fully receive when your own energy is depleted and compromised. The ultimate foundation of your ability to circulate wealth in the world is the wealth of energy within your own body. Therefore, the most fundamental investment in yourself is reflected in how you care for your physical form, the sacred temple that houses your spirit and allows you to experience the joys of this abundant life. This brings us to the bedrock of all true wealth, the vibrant foundation of your physical health. To be a clear and open channel for the universal flow of abundance, the vessel itself, your physical body, must be strong, vital, and pure. We have been taught to see health as something separate from wealth, a secondary concern to be addressed only after our financial goals are met. This is a catastrophic error in judgment. Your physical health is not just one aspect of your wealth. It is the absolute bedrock upon which all other forms of wealth are built and enjoyed. A vault full of gold is meaningless to a person who lacks the vitality to spend it. A life of freedom is a cruel joke to someone imprisoned by chronic pain and fatigue. Honoring your body as the sacred temple that houses your spirit is not an indulgence. It is the most fundamental and necessary investment you will ever make. The journey to vibrant health begins not on the dinner plate or in the gym, but in the mind. The mind and body are not two separate entities. They are a single, unified field of intelligence. Your body is the physical manifestation of your subconscious mind, a living history book that keeps a perfect score of your every thought, emotion, and unprocessed experience. The chronic stress from a job you despise, the simmering resentment from an old grudge, the persistent fear of not being enough, these are not abstract concepts. They are tangible energies that become stored in your body's tissues. They create tension in your shoulders, acidity in your stomach, and inflammation in your joints. Your body is constantly speaking to you in the language of sensation, and it is your sacred duty to learn how to listen. The pioneering healer Louise Hay, in her revolutionary audiobook You Can Heal Your Life, put forth the empowering premise that our thought patterns are directly linked to the ailments in our bodies. She proposed that for every physical disease, there is a corresponding emotional and mental pattern at its root. For example, problems with the neck, she suggested, often relate to stubborn inflexibility and a refusal to see other people's perspectives. Issues with the lungs can be linked to a grief or a fear of taking in life fully. Lower back problems may indicate a feeling of being unsupported by life, often tied to financial fears. The purpose of these correspondences is not to offer a rigid medical diagnosis, but to invite us into a state of profound curiosity. When you feel pain or discomfort in your body, instead of seeing it as a random malfunction, ask a deeper question. What is my body trying to tell me? What thought pattern or emotional state may be contributing to this physical sensation? This transforms you from a passive victim of your biology into an active participant in your own healing. Recognizing that to heal the body, you must also be willing to heal the thoughts that created the condition. With this understanding, we can then approach the physical aspects of health, food, and movement from a new, more enlightened perspective. Food is not just fuel, it is information, it is energy. Every single thing you eat is either raising your vibrational frequency or lowering it. We can make a simple distinction between live foods and dead foods. Dead foods are those that are highly processed, packaged, and filled with artificial chemicals and preservatives. They have a low, chaotic, energetic frequency, and they require an immense amount of your body's own life force to digest and process, leaving you feeling sluggish and drained. Live foods, on the other hand, are foods that are as close as possible to their natural state. Fresh fruits and vegetables pulled from the earth, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. These foods are teeming with life force energy, what the yogis call prana. They have a high, coherent vibrational frequency, and when you consume them, they donate that energy to you, leaving you feeling vital, clear, and alive. You are literally building the cells of your body out of the food you consume. When you choose to build your temple with living, high-vibration materials, your entire being begins to hum at a higher frequency. Similarly, we must reframe our relationship with exercise. For many, exercise is a punishment, a chore performed with the goal of burning calories or losing weight. But its true purpose is far more spiritual. Movement is the art of circulating energy. Our bodies were designed to move, and in our modern, sedentary lives, this lack of movement leads to stagnation, not just physically, but emotionally and creatively as well. When energy gets stuck in the body, we feel stuck in our lives. We feel sluggish, uninspired, and unable to solve our problems. Movement is the physical antidote to this stagnation. Whether you choose to practice yoga, to dance in your living room, to run through the forest, or to simply take a brisk walk, you are performing a powerful act of energetic alchemy. You are breaking up stagnant energy, moving your lymphatic fluid, oxygenating your blood, and releasing a powerful cocktail of endorphins that can instantly shift your emotional state. Feeling anxious? Go move your body. Feeling depressed? Go move your body. It is the fastest and most effective way to change your physical and emotional state, a powerful tool for managing your vibration that is always available to you. By honoring your body as a temple, you are making a powerful statement to the universe. You are declaring that you are worthy of feeling good. You are demonstrating that you value the precious gift of your physical life. When your thoughts are clear, your fuel is pure, and your energy is in motion, your body becomes a powerful and finely tuned conductor for universal energy. You become a clearer channel for inspiration, intuition, and abundance. We have now tended to the garden of the mind. We have aligned with the energetic laws of the universe. We have mastered our most precious resources, and we have purified the physical temple that carries us through this life. The next logical step in our journey of self-investment is to turn our attention from our inner environment to our outer environment. The physical space you inhabit is not merely a backdrop to your life. It is a direct reflection of your inner state and a powerful tool for shaping your reality. Having purified the inner temple of the body, we now turn our attention to the outer temple that houses it, your physical environment. The space you inhabit, be it a sprawling house or a small studio apartment, is not merely a passive backdrop to your life. It is an active participant, a powerful mirror, that both reflects your inner state and constantly feeds information back to it. A cluttered, disorganized, and uninspired home is often the sign of a cluttered, disorganized, and uninspired mind. And living within the chaos makes it incredibly difficult to cultivate the inner peace and clarity we seek. To consciously shape your physical world is to take control of a powerful feedback loop, transforming your home from a reflection of your past into a vibrant vision board for your future. Every object in your environment possesses an energetic frequency. The furniture you sit on, the art on your walls, the clothes in your closet, the books on your shelves, they are all imbued with energy, memories, and associations. A home filled with things you do not love, items that are broken and neglected, gifts from people who have hurt you, or relics from a past you wish to move on from, is a home that is constantly broadcasting a low-frequency signal of stagnation, obligation, and unhappiness. To live in such an environment is to marinate in a low vibration, making the work of raising your own personal frequency a constant uphill battle. You must become the conscious curator of your space, ensuring that everything in it is either beautiful, useful, or deeply loved. The Japanese organizing consultant Marie Kondo, in her global phenomenon The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, introduced a method that transcends simple cleaning and becomes a profound spiritual practice. Her core instruction is to take every single object you own into your hands and ask a simple, powerful question. Does this spark joy? This is not a logical question to be answered by the mind. It is a visceral question to be answered by the body. You are consulting your inner guidance system. When you hold an object that truly sparks joy, you will feel a lightness, a lift, an inner yes. When you hold something that does not, you will feel a heaviness, a draining of energy, an inner no. The process of systematically thanking the items that no longer spark joy and letting them go is a powerful ritual of release. You are not just decluttering your closet, you are decluttering your soul. You are honoring your past, releasing limiting beliefs, and making physical and energetic space for the new life you wish to create. Imagine a woman named Emily who feels stuck in a rut. Her apartment is filled with clutter from years of accumulation. On a whim, she decides to try this method. As she goes through her clothes, she finds a box of outfits from a past relationship. Holding them, she feels a wave of sadness. They do not spark joy. She thanks them for the memories and lets them go, and in doing so, feels a literal weight lift from her heart. She moves to her bookshelf and finds it filled with textbooks from a career path she once pursued but now realizes she has no passion for. She lets them go and feels a new sense of possibility open up. Over the course of a few weeks, she transforms her space. Everything that remains is something she truly loves. Her apartment feels lighter, more spacious, more vibrant. And in this new, clear environment, her mind feels equally clear. An idea for a new creative business, an idea that was previously buried under all the clutter, bubbles up to the surface with startling clarity. By transforming her outer world, she catalyzed a profound transformation in her inner world. Once you have cleared out the old and created a vacuum, you can begin the joyful process of intentionally designing your environment to be a three-dimensional vision board. Your home should be a physical embodiment of the reality you are calling into being. Walk through your space and ask yourself powerful questions. What do you see? Are your walls filled with art that uplifts and inspires you, or are they bare and lifeless? Surround yourself with images that represent your goals. If you desire to travel, put up a beautiful map of the world. What do you hear? Is your home a sanctuary of silence or inspiring music, or is it filled with the constant, fear-mongering drone of the television news? What do you smell? Scent is a powerful trigger for emotion. Does your home smell fresh and clean, perhaps infused with uplifting essential oils like citrus or peppermint? What do you feel? Are the textures of your blankets and furniture comforting and luxurious, making you feel abundant and cared for? Curate every sensory detail of your home to align with the feeling of your wish already fulfilled. If you wish to be a healthy person, make your kitchen an organized, beautiful, and joyful place to prepare vibrant food. If you wish to be a successful writer, create an inspiring writing nook that makes you excited to sit down and work. Within your home, it is essential to consecrate one small area as your sacred space. It doesn't need to be an entire room. It can be a single comfortable chair, a small corner of your bedroom, or even just a meditation cushion. This space is dedicated to one thing and one thing only: your daily practice of self-investment. This is where you will meditate, write in your journal, practice gratitude, and read inspiring books. By consistently using this space for your inner work, it will become energetically charged. Over time, simply sitting down in your sacred space will act as a powerful cue to your mind and body, signaling that it is time to quiet down, go inward, and connect with your higher self. It is your personal sanctuary, a portal to the universe within the four walls of your own home. By consciously curating our physical environment, we create a powerful energetic support system for our inner growth. We have now addressed the temple of the mind, the temple of the body, and the temple of the home. But in our modern world, there is another, more subtle environment that we inhabit every single day, an environment that we allow to enter our consciousness through our eyes and our ears. This is our informational environment. The news we consume, the social media we scroll, the conversations we engage in. This is the diet we are feeding our minds. To complete our investment in ourselves, we must become as intentional about what we allow into our heads as we are about what we allow into our homes. We have taken great care to purify the temple of the mind, the temple of the body, and the temple of the home. We have become the conscious architects of our inner and outer worlds. But there is a final, more subtle environment that we must address, an invisible landscape that we inhabit every moment of our waking lives. This is our informational environment. The media we consume, the conversations we entertain, the social media feeds we scroll. This is the intellectual diet we are feeding ourselves. And just as the food you eat builds the cells of your body, the information you consume builds the architecture of your thoughts, the tone of your emotions, and the very fabric of your reality. To guard the gates of your mind with the same diligence you would guard the gates of your home is one of the most critical and empowering acts of self-investment in the modern world. Our default intellectual diet is, by and large, toxic. Consider the business model of the mainstream news. It is not designed to inform or empower you, it is engineered to do one thing: capture and hold your attention. And the most effective way to hijack human attention is to trigger the brain's ancient negativity bias. The news cycle is a relentless diet of fear, outrage, conflict, and disaster. Consuming this day in and day out puts you in a chronic, low-grade state of anxiety and powerlessness. It paints a picture of a world that is dangerous, scarce, and out of control, making it nearly impossible to cultivate the feelings of trust and abundance necessary for creation. Then there is the environment of social media. Its algorithms are also designed for engagement, and they often achieve this by showing you content that makes you feel envious of others, angry about a political issue, or inadequate in your own life. It is a carefully engineered stream of social comparison and outrage, the mental equivalent of junk food, providing a quick, empty hit that leaves you feeling worse off than before. To consume this content passively is to allow your consciousness to be programmed by forces whose primary goal is not your well-being. Let us paint a picture of two people, Alex and Ben. They live in the same city, work in a similar field, and face the same daily realities. But their intellectual diets are polar opposites. Alex starts his day by immediately reaching for his phone. He scrolls through social media, seeing curated images of friends on exotic vacations, which triggers a feeling of lack in his own life. He reads angry political headlines and feels his blood pressure begin to rise. During his commute, he listens to a sensationalized news radio program that details all the crime and tragedy from the night before. He arrives at his desk already feeling stressed, cynical, and slightly agitated. His mind has been primed by a diet of fear and comparison, and he spends his day seeing problems, engaging in office gossip, and feeling like the world is a hostile place. Ben, on the other hand, makes a different choice. When he wakes up, he leaves his phone on the charger and instead spends 15 minutes in quiet meditation. During his commute, he listens to an audiobook on the philosophy of the Stoics, or a podcast featuring an inspiring entrepreneur. He has made a conscious decision to be the gatekeeper of his own mind, especially in the crucial first hour of the day. He arrives at his desk feeling centered, calm, and optimistic. His mind has been nourished with ideas of resilience, possibility, and creative solutions. He spends his day focused on opportunities. He engages in constructive conversations with his colleagues, and he feels a sense of empowerment and control over his own state. Alex and Ben are living in the same external world, but they are experiencing two completely different realities, dictated entirely by the intellectual diet they chose to consume. One chose to be a passive recipient of low-frequency information. The other chose to be the active curator of his own mental state. This is where the power of tools like audiobooks and educational podcasts becomes a revolutionary strategy for self-investment. They are the ultimate expression of conscious consumption. They allow you to transform what was once dead time into vibrant growth time. The hour you spend in traffic, the 45 minutes you spend on the treadmill, the time you spend washing dishes or folding laundry. These moments no longer need to be filled with distraction or negativity. They can become your personal, mobile university. In those found hours, you can learn a new skill, study the lives of great leaders, immerse yourself in spiritual wisdom, or master the principles of wealth creation. You can, in effect, install the mindsets of the most brilliant people in history directly into your own consciousness, all while going about the necessary tasks of your day. This is the ultimate form of habit stacking, a massive leverage point for accelerating your personal evolution. To make this shift, you must become a vigilant gatekeeper. Begin by trying a simple information fast. For just 3 days, or even a single day, abstain from all news and all social media. Notice the profound effect on your mental clarity and your emotional state. This will reveal just how much this constant stream of information was affecting you. Then, begin the process of conscious curation. Go through your social media feeds and unfollow any account that consistently makes you feel angry, envious, or inadequate. Mute conversations in group chats that are dominated by complaining and gossip. At the same time, actively seek out and follow authors, creators, artists, and thinkers who uplift, inspire, and educate you. Transform your feeds from a source of dread into a source of inspiration. Before you click a link, watch a video, or listen to a podcast, ask yourself a simple question. Is consuming this likely to leave me feeling more empowered or more powerless? And then choose accordingly. As you begin to master this final environment, a powerful synergy occurs. Your inner world is calm and positive. Your physical body is vibrant and healthy. Your home is a sanctuary of inspiration. And your informational diet is nourishing and empowering. When all of these elements align, your personal vibrational frequency begins to rise to a level you may have never experienced before. You are no longer living in a state of resistance and fear, but in a state of flow, trust, and alignment. And when you operate from this new, elevated frequency, you begin to perceive a layer of reality that was previously hidden from you. You start to notice meaningful coincidences, surprising connections, and repeating patterns that seem to be guiding you. The universe, which has been whispering to you all along, now begins to speak to you in a clearer, more direct language. This brings us to the magical and mysterious art of reading the universe's roadmap, the fascinating world of signs and synchronicities. As you diligently curate your inner and outer worlds, your mind, your body, your home, and your information, a remarkable alchemy begins to take place. Your personal vibrational frequency, once subject to the chaotic whims of the external world, now becomes a clear, stable, and high-frequency signal. It is as if you have spent your life trying to tune an old radio amidst a thunderstorm. And now, for the first time, the storm has cleared, and you can hear the beautiful, coherent music that was playing all along. When you begin to operate from this elevated state of being, you gain access to a layer of reality that was always present, but was previously invisible to your senses. You begin to notice the universe winking at you. You enter the magical and mysterious world of signs and synchronicities. The psychologist, Carl Jung, who first coined the term, defined synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence, a causal connecting principle where two or more events that are seemingly unrelated happen in a way that is profoundly meaningful to the person experiencing them. This is the universe communicating with you directly. It is leaving you breadcrumbs on your path, affirming that you are moving in the right direction, and offering guidance at key moments of decision. In a conscious and intelligent universe, there are no true accidents and no random coincidences. There is only the intricate and elegant unfolding of a divine plan. And synchronicities are the moments when we are given a brief glimpse of that beautiful, intricate design. Learning to perceive these signs is like learning a new language. At first, the world seems to be speaking in disconnected noise, but as your awareness and your vibration rise, you begin to pick out words, then phrases, and soon you find you can understand the entire conversation. The universe speaks in a language of symbols, patterns, and timing. One of the most common ways it gets our attention is through repeating numbers. You may find yourself glancing at the clock at exactly 11:11 every day, or seeing the number 444 on license plates, receipts, and billboards. While there are many systems that ascribe specific meanings to these numbers, their true power often lies not in their specific definition, but in their function as a pattern interrupt. They momentarily pull you out of your stream of unconscious thought and invite you into the present moment, reminding you to be aware, to pay attention, because something significant is happening. Another common form of synchronicity is timely information. You may be wrestling with a difficult problem, and you turn on the radio to hear a song whose lyrics contain the very answer you were seeking. You might open a book to a random page and find a sentence that speaks directly to your situation. Or you may overhear a conversation between strangers in a coffee shop that provides the exact insight you needed. These are not accidents. This is the universe using the fabric of reality as its own personal search engine to deliver information to you. Similarly, you will notice an increase in unexpected encounters. You'll be thinking of a friend you haven't spoken to in a decade, and your phone will ring with their name on the screen. Or you will decide to pursue a new project, and the very next day, you will bump into the one person who has the perfect skill set to help you. It is important, however, to approach this new awareness with a sense of wonder, not superstition. The goal is not to become paralyzed, constantly looking for a sign to tell you what to do next. The purpose of signs is not to make decisions for you, but to confirm the intuitive choices you are already making. A true synchronicity has a distinct energetic signature. It feels numinous, magical. It will often give you a little shiver down your spine, a feeling of goosebumps, a sense of awe that makes you stop and say, "Wow!" It energizes you and confirms that you are in the flow. If you find yourself desperately searching for meaning in every little thing, and it feels stressful or confusing, then it is not a sign from the universe, it is an anxious thought from your own ego. The rule is simple. If it is expansive, accept it with gratitude. If it is confusing, let it go. The Spiritual Adventure Parable, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, is built entirely around this idea of being guided by a chain of synchronicities. It tells the story of a man who is led on a profound journey of spiritual discovery, not by a guru, but by simply following the next meaningful coincidence that appears in his life. Imagine a man named Leo, who is deeply unhappy in his stable but unfulfilling accounting job. His true passion is landscape photography, but he is terrified to make the leap. He asks the universe for a sign, for some kind of clarity. The very next day, he is browsing a bookstore and a large art book about the master photographer, Ansel Adams, inexplicably falls off a high shelf and lands at his feet. It feels strange, a little magical. He buys the book. Tucked inside is a flyer for a photography workshop taking place in a month, in a beautiful national park. He feels a powerful pull, but his mind is filled with fear and doubt. A week later, at a family party, his cousin mentions that he is moving for a new job and needs to find someone to take over the lease on his small, affordable apartment. The apartment, it turns out, is located just outside that same national park. The string of improbable events is so perfect, so elegant, that it shatters his fear. It no longer feels like he is making a terrifying decision. It feels like he is simply accepting a beautiful invitation. He is stepping onto a path that has been lovingly laid out for him. A wonderful practice to enhance your sensitivity to this universal language is to keep a synchronicity journal. Dedicate a small notebook to this purpose, and every time one of these meaningful coincidences occurs, write it down. This practice does two powerful things. First, it builds your faith. On days when you feel disconnected or doubtful, you can read back through your journal and see the undeniable, written proof that you are not alone, that the universe is actively communicating with you and conspiring in your favor. Second, it helps you recognize patterns. You may discover that the universe uses specific symbols or methods to speak to you personally. You begin to learn your own unique dialect of this cosmic language. As you become more fluent in the language of synchronicity, your relationship with the universe transforms. You cease to see yourself as a small, separate individual struggling against a random and indifferent world. You begin to feel, in your very bones, that you are a cherished and essential part of a vast, interconnected, and benevolent intelligence. This growing awareness, this shift from a feeling of separation to a feeling of profound connection with the all, leads you to the doorstep of the most powerful realization a human being can have. It is the shift from I want to the understanding of your own divine nature. It is the moment you are ready to claim your ultimate creative power, the power of I am. As you become fluent in the symbolic language of the universe, reading the signs and synchronicities that light your path, your sense of trust deepens into a profound state of knowing. You move beyond believing that you are supported by the universe to a direct feeling of being an inseparable part of it. The wall between the inner and outer world dissolves, and you stand at the threshold of the most powerful realization a human being can experience. This is the final alchemical shift in consciousness. The moment you graduate from being a student of these laws to becoming a master of your reality. It is the moment you reclaim your divine birthright and step into the creative power of I Am. For this entire journey, we have spoken of desires and intentions, but these are the language of a consciousness that perceives separation. The statement, "I want wealth," contains within it a subtle, yet powerful, affirmation of its absence. It creates a dynamic of you, here, and the thing you desire, over there. It is a prayer of seeking. But the universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. The most powerful creative statement you can ever utter, the statement that collapses all distance and transforms seeking into being, are the two simple words, I am. These words are the very name of God, the creative power of the cosmos. In ancient texts, when the prophet asks the divine for its name, the response is not a noun, but a statement of being. I am that I am. This was not just an answer, it was a profound instruction. The creative force of the universe is pure, formless awareness, and whatever quality you attach to that awareness, whatever you claim as your identity after the words I am, you command into existence. I am struggling, I am unlucky, I am unworthy. These are not mere descriptions, they are powerful creative spells that shape your reality. But so too are the declarations, I am abundant, I am guided, I am whole. The mystic Neville Goddard was perhaps the 20th century's greatest teacher of this profound principle. He taught that our imagination is not a frivolous faculty for daydreaming, but the one and only creative power. The world we experience with our senses, he explained, is nothing more than a delayed, shadowy projection of what we have first created in our own consciousness. His central technique, the key to all manifestation, was to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the practical application of the I am principle. It means to go beyond simply thinking of your desire, and to begin thinking from your desire. You must, in your imagination, inhabit the state of being the person who already has what you want. Neville's own life provides the most powerful example. During World War II, he was drafted into the U.S. Army and stationed in a large camp in Louisiana. He desperately wanted to be discharged to continue his spiritual teaching in New York City. He felt his time was being wasted. His spiritual mentor, a man named Abdullah, gave him a simple instruction. He said to Neville, "You are in Barbados." Neville corrected him, saying he was in an army camp. Abdullah repeated, firmly, "You are in Barbados." He was instructing Neville to stop identifying with his current reality and to fully assume the reality he desired. That night, and for several nights after, Neville, while lying on his army cot in Louisiana, assumed in his imagination that he was sleeping in his own bed in his family home in Barbados. He didn't just visualize it, he felt it. He felt the familiar mattress. He saw the tropical moonlight through the window. He smelled the sea air. He fell asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. A short time later, after a series of improbable events, a hold on all furloughs was lifted, and against all odds, he was granted leave to go to Barbados. When he returned, he was once again desperate to leave the army for good. Abdullah gave him the same instruction. Neville was to assume the state of being an honorably discharged civilian, living in his apartment in New York City. For 9 consecutive nights, Neville fell asleep in his army cot by imagining and feeling that he was in his own New York bed. On the 10th day, without any action on his part, his commanding officer called him in, and for reasons he could not explain, signed his discharge papers. Neville had not begged, or hoped, or wished. He had simply, with the full power of his focused imagination, assumed the state of I am an honorably discharged civilian, and the three-dimensional world, in its own mysterious way, had no choice but to conform to his assumption. This profound realization comes with a liberating and challenging consequence. If you are the creative power in your life, you can no longer be its victim. This is the ownership principle. It is the moment you take 100% responsibility for everything in your experience. You must relinquish all blame, all excuses, all stories of why you cannot succeed. You cannot blame your past, your parents, the government, or the economy for your current circumstances. Your reality today is the hardened fact of your past states of consciousness, your past I am declarations, whether they were conscious or unconscious. This is not a call for guilt, it is the ultimate call to empowerment. If you have created your current reality, then you possess the absolute power to create a new one. This is the essence of spiritual sovereignty. It is the moment you stop being a passenger in your own life and take your rightful place in the driver's seat. You are the operant power. The universe is not a separate being that you must petition for favors. You are the creative intelligence that is operating through the unfailing laws of the universe. The world is clay, and your consciousness, your state of being, your I amness, is the hand that shapes it. all the principles we have discussed: mastering your mindset, overcoming limiting beliefs, building powerful habits, caring for your body, curating your environment are the tools you use to consciously and deliberately stabilize yourself in the I am state of your choice. This profound realization, this direct experience of your own creative power, is the summit of the mountain we have been climbing. From this magnificent vantage point, you see the entire journey in a new light. You understand that the purpose was never just to acquire wealth or achieve a goal. The purpose was the journey itself. It was the process of unbecoming everything you were not, in order to become the person you were always meant to be. This awakening does not mark an end to your journey, it marks a new beginning. Life ceases to be a series of problems to be solved, or a checklist of goals to be conquered. Instead, it transforms into an infinite game, a joyous and never-ending process of growth, expansion, and discovery, where the sole purpose is to see how much more you can become. As you stand on the summit of self-realization, knowing yourself as the creator of your reality, a final, fundamental question arises: what now? Do you simply create your desired life, and then the journey is over? Have you now won the game? This is the moment where the entire purpose of our journey shifts from a destination to a direction. It is the realization that the ultimate prize is not to finish the race, but to fall in love with running. You are about to graduate from playing a finite game to mastering the art of the infinite game. The philosopher James P. Carse, in his profound work Finite and Infinite Games, presents a powerful lens through which to view our lives. A finite game, he explains, is played for the purpose of winning. It has a definite beginning, middle, and end. It has known players and fixed rules. A football game is a finite game. A war is a finite game. The societal race to acquire a specific net worth or a particular job title is a finite game. The entire game is structured around reaching an end point where a winner is declared, and the play stops. An infinite game, on the other hand, is played for the sole purpose of continuing the play. The players may change, the rules are fluid, and there is no finish line. The goal of the infinite player is not to win, but to perpetuate the joy, the growth, and the discovery of the game itself. For most of your life, you have been taught to play finite games. Get the grades, get the degree, get the job, get the promotion, get the house, get the retirement. Each is a self-contained game to be won. But this approach often leads to a hollow sense of what now? After each victory, the man who dedicates his life to the finite game of making $10 million may feel ecstatic the day he achieves it, but he will often feel empty and aimless the day after. The infinite player sees this differently. They understand that self-investment is the ultimate infinite game. There is no final destination called wealth. There is no certificate of achievement called enlightenment. There is no point at which you are finished with your own growth. The joy is not found in arriving, it is found in the journey of becoming. The purpose is not to win, but to see how beautifully you can play. When you adopt this mindset, your entire relationship with life's endeavors changes. The finite player sees wealth as a number to be acquired. The infinite player sees wealth as a continuous flow of energy to be generated, circulated, and used for ever-increasing growth and contribution. The finite player gets a degree and considers their education complete. The infinite player is a lifelong learner, forever curious, knowing that every book they read and every skill they acquire simply opens up a wider field of play. The finite player strives for a moment of perfection. The infinite player understands that the goal is a lifetime of progress. You are not building a static sculpture to be placed on a pedestal. You are tending to a vibrant, ever-growing garden that will continue to produce new flowers and new fruits for the rest of your days. This infinite game is played through the conscious integration of all the principles we have journeyed through. It becomes a daily, weekly, and lifelong practice. Your daily practice is your non-negotiable commitment to starting your day with intention. It is the 15 minutes you dedicate to meditation, to journaling your gratitude, to affirming your I am state before you give your energy to the world. It is the practice of using your emotional guidance system as your compass throughout the day, gently steering yourself back into alignment whenever you feel yourself drifting into negativity. It is the conscious curation of your intellectual diet, choosing inspiration over fear. Your weekly practice is your strategic review. It is the quiet hour you set aside on a Sunday evening to look at your life's jar and ask, did I put the big rocks in first this week? Did I invest my time and energy in my health, my purpose, and my most important relationships? It is a moment to review your progress, to celebrate your wins, and to set a clear and loving intention for the week to come. and your lifelong practice is the cultivation of a resilient and expansive mindset. It is the commitment to see every challenge as a chance to become more anti-fragile. It is the choice to see every person you meet as an opportunity for authentic connection. It is the discipline to see every moment as a chance to be fully present. It is the promise to yourself that you will never stop being curious, that you will never stop learning, and that you will never stop growing. Imagine a wise elder, 90 years of age, sitting on her porch. She is not done with life. She has not won and retired from the game. She is still playing, and she is playing with a masterful grace. She is learning to play the ukulele from a tutorial on her tablet. She is tending to her small garden, marveling at the miracle of a new tomato. She is listening with her full presence to the story of a young neighbor, offering a few words of gentle wisdom. Her mind is not filled with regret for the past or anxiety for the future, but with a vibrant, peaceful curiosity about what this day will bring. She is the embodiment of the infinite player. She has discovered that the purpose of life is not to reach a destination, but to savor the journey, to play the game with love, and to continue expanding in wisdom and joy until the very end. This is the ultimate expression of a life well lived. This is the true definition of infinite wealth. And so, our exploration of these principles comes not to an end, but to a new beginning. We have traveled from the foundational act of redefining wealth to the ultimate realization of our own creative power. We have assembled a complete toolkit for designing a life of purpose, peace, and prosperity. We have learned how to shift our mindset, align with universal law, and consciously create our reality from the inside out. Now, let us take one final moment to look back on this transformative journey, to distill its most vital message, and to step forward into the rest of our lives with a renewed sense of clarity, a profound sense of purpose, and an unshakable feeling of our own sovereign power. We have now traveled together on a profound journey of discovery, a journey not to a distant land, but to the very center of our own being. We began by shattering the brittle, unsatisfying definition of wealth that the world had given us, and we replaced it with a new, holistic vision of a life rich in health, purpose, and peace. We learned that our mind is not who we are, but a powerful tool we can use, a garden we can consciously cultivate. We explored the invisible laws of the universe, learning to speak the language of vibration, to set clear intentions, and to read the feedback of our emotional guidance system. We faced the inner saboteurs of our limiting beliefs, we re-engineered our habits, we honored the sacred temples of our bodies and our homes, and we became vigilant gatekeepers of our minds. We followed the trail of synchronicities, which led us to the ultimate realization of our own creative power, the sovereign power of I Am. And finally, we chose to step out of the frantic, finite games of the world, and into the joyous, infinite game of lifelong growth and expansion. If there is one single truth to take with you from this entire journey, let it be this. The life you are seeking is not out there to be found, it is in here to be created. Abundance is not a resource to be acquired, it is a state of being to be embodied. Peace is not a destination you arrive at after a long struggle, it is the very ground you choose to walk upon. The universe is not a withholding parent that you must beg for blessings, it is a willing and eager co-creator. A divine mirror that is constantly and flawlessly reflecting back to you the truth of who you believe you are. Your work is not to change the world, your work is to change the self that is perceiving the world, and in doing so, the world you perceive will inevitably change. Do not feel that you must now implement every single one of these principles at once. The path to mastery is taken one single step at a time. The only thing that matters is that you begin. Choose one thing. Perhaps tonight, you will write down 10 things you are grateful for. Perhaps tomorrow, you will declutter one small drawer in your home. Perhaps you will simply commit to taking 5 conscious, meditative breaths before you start your day. Choose one small, atomic action, and do it with your full presence. That single step is all it takes to shift your trajectory from a path of unconscious reaction to a path of conscious creation. You have always held the power. You are the architect of your reality, the artist of your life, the single greatest asset in your portfolio. The blueprint is now in your hands. The tools are at your disposal. Step forward from this moment with a new sense of clarity, with a deep feeling of peace, and with the unshakable knowledge that you are the creator, you are the power, and the magnificent life you have always dreamed of is simply waiting for you to claim it.